Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Money in the Morning, aka Economic Elevation, aka Financial Consciousness. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. So good to see everybody. I hope everybody's feeling good and having a great day. I am actually I'm actually at the University of Chicago campus today. There is a great conference happening here called Happy and the Shy. HAPI is how they spell it. HAPI. It's a great film. Happy is a great film made by Taki Grant, and it's all about the economic history of ancient Egypt. Is pretty powerful. And so last night I hung out with some old friends. Saw Dr. Julianne Malveaux, who I love so much, and Dr. George C. Frazier, and some others. And so it's going on for the whole weekend. So if you wanted to come down and hang out, you can go to hoppyfilm.com, hoppyfilm.com, and I'll be speaking today. How cool is that? All right. So, anyway, right, you didn't come here to see me act goofy today. All right. So I wanted to talk about there's a lot of stuff that's kind of brewing in my brain, mainly because whenever I listen to Dr. Frazier speak, I always think about so many things. And I heard him just talk last night about some things. In case you don't know, Dr. George C. Frazier is one of the great thinkers of our time. He's right there with the Dr. Claude Andersons of the world, and he's somebody that should be remembered in Black history because he is that important to the world. Now, let me see here. Let me check to make sure. Okay, I had to hit a button or two. Yeah, and so with Dr. Frazier, he was talking last night about something that I really think we should formalize in terms of really understanding, just sort of what our economic issue is and what our next great challenge is, and what they stole from us. Right. Like, for example, a lot of us know about wealth that was stolen. We know about money that was stolen. When you say wealth was stolen, it's like, well, what does that mean exactly? Right. What does that mean? Well, the first thing you learn about wealth, if you've been in this class for a while, is that wealth is typically not money, right? Wealth is usually not money. Like, give me a yes if you understand that. Wealth is usually not money. Money is a part of wealth. But if you want to know what money is in America, it's these little useless green pieces of paper called dollar bills, and they inflate every day, and they're worth less tomorrow than they were yesterday, and it has value, right? Money matters, right? That's why we talk about money to some extent, but most wealth is not in the form of money. Let me know, give me a yes if you understand that. And so the thing is like, well, what is wealth? Where does that come from? Well, generally wealth would be anything of value in your life that you can then use to make transactions with, the things that you can use to get things done with. And one of the most important forms of wealth that was stolen from Black people wasn't just our money, it was actually our families. It was actually our families. And so, what I wanted to drill into today is a little bit in terms of formalizing this idea, right? You've heard me talk a little bit about the importance of family and why we got to do more with the Black family, things like that. I think we all are on the same page with that. But it's like, well, how do you really sort of see that clearly? Like, how do you see it in a way that's so clear that even a 6-year-old would get it? And so here's what I want to kind of drill into. If you know from my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, which, by the way, it's an Amazon bestseller. So thank you guys for supporting the book. One of the first principle, the first of the 10 Commandments, is always be an asset to your family. Always be an asset to your family, and that part of that emotional connection to that concept came from when I was 12 years old, and my mother she said, "Coco, you are such an asset." And I didn't even know what an asset was at that time. I just know I felt good and I love making my mama proud. And for her to call me an asset, it meant something. It was like, oh, I don't know what that is, but it sounds awfully nice. I like the way you're talking, girl. Keep on talking. And so being an asset was something I said, okay, I want to be an asset to my family. And some people would think, oh, well, that means that people are exploiting you and things like that. Well, no, no, no. It ain't got nothing to do with money all the time. It's really it's about like being somebody where you being in their life makes their life better, right? The fact that you were here means you didn't push me back. 10 steps, you pushed me forward. You gave me something. You might not have gave me no money, but maybe you gave me some love. Right? Maybe you gave me something to eat. Maybe you gave me some warmth when I was cold, right? Maybe you gave me encouragement when I was feeling down. Right? So being an asset in the lives of the people that we love, I think that's a pretty basic idea. I mean, let me just ask you this: how many of you know Anybody that you've ever met in your family who wasn't an asset, who was a liability? Anybody got anybody in your family like that, where literally they made everybody's life worse? They hurt people, stole from people, maybe they beat people up, maybe they harmed somebody in your family, they betrayed somebody, they did somebody dirty, made a promise that they didn't keep, made babies they didn't take care of. You came to them looking for love, and all they did was spit in your face practically and hurt your feelings. Right? Did anybody know people like that? Because we got a few of those. Maybe they touched a little girl in the family, didn't nobody want to talk about it. You know, maybe they came around, whenever they came around, and they anytime they started a conversation, you've got those cousins where you just know, like anytime they start a conversation with you, it's going to involve something that they're going to ask you to give to them. These bottomless pit personalities where, like, hey, cuz, let hold some, cuz, hey, cuz, let me holler at you real quick, cuz. I had a cousin like that. He would call me and be like, hey, cuz, got a situation. Oh, man, damn. You in your situations, man. I got situations. I can't never call you to help me with my situation, but you always calling me to help you with yours. Man, you can take your situation and shove it up your ass. That's how I'll be like, man, dude, I'm struggling. I'm over here trying to figure out how to pay bills. I got a child to take care of. I'm trying to, like, God, cuz I got a situation. So we all know what that feels like, and most of us do. And so to me, I think, so when I saw that, when I saw where that came from, I think about the way my biological father wasn't really able to be an asset to me. When I think about relatives who weren't quite assets, when I thought about friends who didn't know how to be an assets in my life, I thought about, okay, what's the opposite of that? Well, the opposite of that is when you are the kind of person where when people talk to you, they gain something. Maybe they gain some knowledge because they talk to you. Maybe they gain a listening ear. How valuable is a listening ear? Maybe maybe when when they talk to you, they gained you were able to come through for them. It helped them out with something financially. Okay, I need $200 to get by for the next couple of days, and whatever, right? Or maybe it's support, right? I'm starting a business. I don't know how I'm going to get any customers, but you're listening to me because you want to figure out how you can help. I think that being helpful is really a powerful thing that's often overlooked. But if you really drill into economic theory the way I do, you'll know that even little things like that, things that you write off is like, well, no, I was just being a good person. These things actually have an impact, and like financially and otherwise, you make the lives of those that you care about better when you present yourself in that way, right? So being an asset to the family, that's one of the first commandments in my book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power. And it also is something that you should think carefully about when you're talking about how you want to engage with the Black family as an economic institution. And you don't believe me? You don't think the Black family is an economic institution? Well, since I'm hanging out the University of Chicago campus today, I decided that I would, my wife and I were walking around the Obama Center. I'm looking right out my window. I see the Obama Center right there. Barack Obama used to work in the law school right next door to the hotel that we were staying in. My wife went to school in the social work school right down the block. We walked by that. Her father went to University of Chicago, and so did her grandfather. And what a lot of people don't know is that the University of Chicago is in finance. They're kind of like the Vatican of finance. They're like the Vatican of economic and financial thinking, actually. And there was a guy there named Gary Becker who formed a whole theory called on what he called human capital. It's literally called human capital theory. I think he might have won the Nobel Prize. I can't remember. But anyway, with human capital, here's the deal. And this really leans into what I'm sharing with you about being an asset to your family and the family as an economic institution. And that is that when they stole black families, when they destroyed black families, they destroyed probably $5 to $10 trillion in black wealth. Like I want you to understand that when you see how many of you have seen all the statistics about how 70 something percent of black children are born without both parents in the household. Give me a yes if you've seen these stats and if these stats bother you. And they what they'll do is they'll say, oh no, it's not a big deal. It's okay. His daddy lives across town and he sees his daddy once a week, so he's still got a heavily involved father. I'm not trying to be bougie here, but I am here to say that there is a difference. Those of you who had your father in the house know that there's a difference between seeing your dad once a week versus having your dad there waking you up every morning to make sure that you did what you were supposed to do. That this is it's just a different it's levels to it, right? And again, no disrespect to anybody that like people hey, you work with what you got, you do what you got to do. But the family is an economic institution that was ripped away from the black community. And we gained a perspective that led us to accept something that has never worked throughout human history. Do you understand that Dr. Frazier mentioned this last night, and I agree with him 100%. There has never been a community ever in the history of this earth that has been able to achieve wealth and power with a community full of baby mamas and baby daddies. There just hasn't. It's never happened, right? So in order for you to solve the black wealth problem, you first got to solve the black family problem. And in order for you to solve the black family problem, we might have to relearn what it means to construct a family. We might have to learn what it means to pick a boyfriend, pick a girlfriend. You ain't picking a girl because she got the biggest booty. Don't pick a man because he's 6 feet tall and makes six figures. You pick people based on their ability to help you maintain the structure of the institution that you're going to create together. There's so many criteria. The ability to identify healthy relationships, choose and invest in healthy relationships, and repair and maintain healthy relationships. That is an essential skill that's far more important than any college degree you could ever earn that will give you some little raggedy job working for some white man somewhere. I'm not. Again, I always have to say this. I don't job shame. I've never said you're a bad person because you have a job. I'm here to say that the mistake we're making is we will invest heavily in working for other people, but we don't invest heavily in working for ourselves. Tell me if you agree with that. Let me know if it's okay for me to say that. Can you at least try to hear me on that? And I want to say it that way because I don't want to like well Dr. Boyce said if you got a job you a sucker. No, 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 no. And if you see me, don't I saw a lady there at the hoppy event last night. She said, "Yeah, Dr. Boyce, I come to class and I still have a job. I still work. I know you don't like. No, no, no. I don't. No, 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 no. And I love her. She was so nice, and I gave her a hug. No, I'm not. No, 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 no. I'm not here to say that you're a bad person for doing it. I'm here to say that we got to really think carefully about what the priorities are. Your purpose in life was not to go work for a white man. That's not your identity. Your purpose in life was maybe it's to be a great mom. Maybe your purpose was to be a great dad. Maybe your purpose was to do something for your family or something for your people. But your purpose certainly was not to be a Xerox employee. I don't even know if Xerox is even around. But your purpose in life was not to work for UPS, man. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that that ain't your purpose. So the issue is that that which you value is that which you should be investing in. But I really think we should question the idea that we invest more in our job than we invest in our children. We do. We people most people spend if you have a regular job when you work 8 hours a day, it was 10 hours a day of getting ready for work, coming home from work, whatever, and being at work. More people spend more time at their job than they spend with their children. That's a little weird and a little bit backward. I just have to tell you that doesn't quite make sense to me. So let me give you Gary Becker's human capital theory so that so we'll start with that commandment. Always be an asset to your family. And what Gary Becker talks about in human capital theory is that families don't just raise children, they produce future workers, entrepreneurs, investors, and leaders. So you're not just raising a child, you're raising somebody, you're raising a freaking asset, man. Like my sister, when my wife, oh, not my wife, I'm sorry, my mother, when my mother used to say, maybe that was a Freudian slip, right? Because my mother and my wife look a lot alike and they're both social workers. That's kind of deep, right? But when my mother used to say, Coco, you're an asset, well, she was raising an asset. And when you are raising an asset, that means you're raising wealth to some extent. The people that come out of your body are that's wealth. So and if you don't believe me, then look at how many people there are, how many vultures there are waiting to acquire that wealth from you. Value creation versus value capture. You created the little Negro, you gave birth to him, and you raised him, and you fed him every day, but you're not necessarily wired to capture the value that comes from the asset you created. But I tell you what, the NFL is. If you if you give birth to three boys that are all 6'5", 250 pounds, and run the 40-yard dash in 4.4 seconds, watch how fast those football recruiters are knocking at your door, offering you a piece of chocolate cake and to sit down and talk to you about your son's future at the University of Alabama. If you don't believe that you're raising an asset, look at how quickly you are that child goes into the economy and ends up working for a corporation and generating millions of dollars in value for the corporation. Tell me if I'm lying. If you don't believe you're raising an asset, look at how much wealth is made from the penitentiaries when your son gets to prison. If he turns out to be a little knucklehead, if he buys into the culture and becomes a YN, well, then the penitentiary can make money off of it. Or when he becomes a consumer and gets hypnotized into buying luxury items that have been mass marketed to him by rappers since he was 5 years old. Tell me if you've seen this. Tell me if you notice these things. Or when he gets his first apartment, he starts paying money to the landlord. Well, now he's an asset to the landlord. He's part of the landlord's portfolio. That's what assets are. You put assets in your portfolio, some real estate together, or they actually do real. The way wealth really works is like this. Or hey, son, when you grow up, make sure you do this. Or hey, I want to make sure we set this trust up for the grandkids. How many of you have done this? Give me a yes. I hope that you're doing this. I hope that you're not just sitting back and just listening. You can do that for a while, but at some point, I need you to go ahead and claim your power. Well, every time you're giving a lesson, do you know what you're doing? Actually, you're increasing someone's human capital. You are an investor in your community. I don't care how much money you got. If you're sitting down with 14 children at a school and talking to those kids and telling them something that they're not hearing at home, then you are an investor in the Black community. Do you understand how important you are? And in any community around the earth, the more investors you have, the more wealth gets created. This is not me giving you a feel-good speech. This is according to human capital theory. This is economic theory that came from the University of Chicago, one of the greatest economic thought leaders on the earth. Every member of my dissertation committee came from the University of Chicago. Jayanta Sen, Dr. David Hirschleifer, Dr. Andrew Caroli. That was my dissertation committee. Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. And all these dudes were some badass economists. They were extraordinarily, I couldn't get nothing past them. I had to really jump a hurdles to get there. I think Caroli's at Cornell and Hirschleifer's off somewhere being famous. And Jayanta, I don't know, he's from India, but I haven't, but he was amazing. So my point is to say that the baddest economic thinkers on the earth have pretty much confirmed that when you are sitting down with a child, giving them guidance and mentorship, teaching them something about economics or life that they didn't know, or even something as simple as, hey, son, never trust a big button to smile, right? Whatever it is that you do to teach them how to invest properly in themselves and in the world, you are an investor. You are making an investment in the community. And according to economic theory, the more you invest in an entity, the faster it's going to grow. In finance, one term they use for that is what they call the plowback ratio. They say that that a company that invests 60 cents out of every dollar is going to be worth more than a company that invests 30 cents out of every dollar. So these are simple ideas. So here's the deal. Every lesson you give a child, every lesson you give each other, every lesson you give yourself, you are adding to human capital. You are increasing wealth in the Black community. The first factory that you ever walked into was not a business. It was your house. That was your first factory. Tell me if you follow what I'm saying. Anybody get what I'm saying? Before I move, I'm gonna move to the next point. Does everybody understand? Are we on the same page here? Okay. So to lighten things up, because I know I get kind of heavy, I want to acknowledge some of you that have hit the leaderboard for this class. We keep attendance and everything else, and let me just let you know that Lisa McKinney is extraordinary. She's actually attended 97% of the classes. Way to go, Lisa. I love you. You're amazing. Angela McKinney, sorry, Lisa Jackson, Angela McKinney, Royal Calhoun, Ricardo Stallworth, James Keller, James Brown, Elijah Williams, Tamara Galloway, Marissa Boyer, Veronica Ganny, Stephen Gordon, Shantae Moore, yeah, Shantae Moore, sorry, Wanda Henderson, Lewis Steverson. I just want to say some of those names, Taram Turnbull, and there's some other names, but those are a few names of individuals who have really, really stood out and who are actually just killing it. I mean, you guys are just coming to class like almost every day, and I love that. And a lot of you have as well. So don't think that if I didn't say your name that you're being ignored. I just can't say every name, but because there's thousands of you to come to class every day, but those are the ones that popped up on my screen first. And yeah, it looks like Angela's on a 19-day streak. She's come to class 19 straight days in a row. And Lisa Jackson actually has the record for the most sessions attended. So she's been in here at least in the past. It only goes back 200 days, so about a year and a half. We've actually been doing this for about 3 years, 4 years. I can't remember how. I lose track now. But she's actually attended 363 hours of economic training in the last couple of years. So way to go, Lisa Jackson. I'm proud of you. So I need you, Lisa. I need you to go out here and make sure you're teaching everybody that you see, because you're obviously a very serious person, and we need more serious people in the community. We have enough clown types out there that get paid by white folks to embarrass themselves. So shout out to the Lisa Jacksons of the world. All right. Also, a lot of you have asked about some of the apparel that I wear with the Panther on it, the Panther logo. You've been asking about that for years. How do we get one? How do we get one? Well, they weren't for sale. They were not for sale. Now they are for sale. We do have a few, and so here's I'll give you all the link. I'll text it out to you. But yeah, my favorite is the quarter zip pullover, and so here it is right here. I'll send out the link. I'll text it out. Make sure you get on the text. Let's text the word morning to the number 87948, and you can go take a look here and see if you want to get a backpack or a hat or some pants. We even got the pants and the little coffee mugs and stuff like that. So and we got stuff for the ladies too. You see, it's got the little shape going thing going on there. So if you want to wear the Panther on your apparel, I will send you all the link. So just stay alert in your text messages. Text the word morning to the number 87948. Oh, James Keller, you already ordered one. Okay, so I already sent it out. Well, I'll send it out again. And actually, maybe I can even try to put it in the chat. I know sometimes for whatever reason, some of you see what I put in the chat, some of you don't, but I'll do that. I'll do both. So I'll put it in the chat and I'll also text out the link. So make sure you're on the text list for this class. There's the link right there. Let me know if you see it. All right, so let's keep talking. So we're talking about the Black family as an economic institution. And by the way, if you want to be counted for attendance, it counts the people that are inside the Zoom. So if you watch outside the Zoom, then it won't pop in. See, Catherine says she doesn't see the link, but there's the link there. Does anybody see the link? So tell me if you see it. I just put it in there. See if let me know if you can see it and you can click on it. Okay, I see yeses and nos. All right, I'll just text it out that way because I don't know why some of you see it, some of you don't. But there it is. All right, number two. Here's another thing that you want to understand in terms of the Black family as an economic institution is there's another theory, basically in basic microeconomics. A lot of people don't know this, but economics actually is what they refer to as the allocation of scarce resources. It means you take something or you have resources that are not infinitely available, they're scarce, and you basically can. Um, you just figure out how you're going to allocate these things. So every family pretty much has limited time, money, and energy, and that's true in your life. You don't have an infinite supply of time, you don't have an infinite supply of money, you don't have an infinite supply of resources. So you have to think strategically about where you're going to allocate these things. Like so, for example, in a relationship. If you waste your time with somebody, then you're giving away, you've invested in something that didn't quite work out. So before you make the investment in anything, you must do your due diligence, right? Before you invest, you must investigate, right? So that means take your time, make sure that you get to know people before you jump in bed with them and all this other stuff. In fact, I told somebody, I've said it before, I'll probably say it 1,000 times, so I think it works. I told a young lady, I said, I think the criteria you might want to use if you're choosing what man to sleep with, and the same thing would be true for men, is I said, I would ask myself a question. If I have a son with this man, and this man grows up and becomes just like his father, how am I going to feel? Right? If I have a child with this man and he grows up to be exactly like his dad, would I consider that to be a win? Or would I consider that to be like an epic fail? And I said, and if the answer is negative, then that might not be the best person for you to invest your body into, right? So I'd say that to men. I'd say, okay, so you're about to sleep with this stripper, huh? Okay, so if you have a daughter with that stripper, how would you feel about your daughter growing up being just like her mama? Oh no, man, no, I don't want it. Well, why would you? Why would you? Why are you laying down with this lady? There's beautiful women who aren't strippers that are nice people. They probably know all the little bedroom tricks that you're looking for, whatever. Like, why her? Why now? Nothing against if you're stripping. That's okay. I'm not judging you. It's all right. We all strippers need financial education. In fact, the strippers actually are probably among the most economically sophisticated people ever because they understand the connection between emotion and money, and they know how to make a man feel a certain way that'll make him like start doing this, right? So they're really actually the financial consciousness of strippers and gold diggers is incredibly high. They can smell money in the room. They can look at what kind of shoes you're wearing, what kind of watch you got on, how you walk, and they can tell if you got money or not. That's actually quite a skill. Yeah, it's quite a skill. All right, so and I don't judge it. The reason I don't judge it is because there's actually research that says that women, surprise, surprise, women like men who have resources. Duh. You go talk to a female gorilla. She's not chasing after the bum. She don't want the scrub. She don't want the loser. She got bills to pay. She trying to feed the baby. She got bananas to eat. She ain't trying to mess around with the loser gorilla. She wants the alpha gorilla. That's just that's why I read these things, right? When I was writing financial lovemaking, I spent a lot of time studying like, okay, what is it that people really want in instinctively? What they claim that they want, not what's politically correct. I want to know what's really going on down deep down in your mind, your soul, and your body. And that's what it is. I mean, resources matter. And the idea that somehow people think that you should love a broke person as much as you love a person that has money, it's possible. I'm not saying it's not doable because wealth shows in a lot of different ways. It's not just money. So a person without money is not worthless at all by any stretch. And but what I'm saying is money makes a difference, right? If you take everything else, make everything else equal, same height, same education level, same looks, and then one's a billionaire and one's working at Burger King, that's gonna make a difference, right? It's not. It doesn't mean it's the defining factor though. There's a lot of factors. It's multivariate as they call it, right? So, but even animals do this. Animals measure their mating. Well, the women do based on the men that are basically winning. The winners get. So men, if you want access to things or whatever, you want attention or whatever it is that you're looking for, just win. Train your son to be a winner. Be a winner. All right. So anyway, all right, so every family has limited time, money, and energy. They must constantly decide, like, what do we spend, what do we save, who gets the help, what do we invest in. These are the same decisions that businesses make. So a black family is a black business. Your black owned family is your black owned business. Just in case you didn't know that, in case you never heard me say that, that is your first black owned business. And what happens is that a lot of those businesses are bankrupt. A lot of those businesses are underfunded. A lot of those businesses are misguided. Anytime you have somebody heading a family who's never taken time to learn how to head a family, who's never been trained on how to head a family, that's no different than giving a factory to somebody who doesn't know anything about the industry that they're in, doesn't know anything about the product, doesn't know anything about what they're producing, doesn't want to work at it or anything like that. So the training to head a family should be as intense and as serious, in my opinion, as the training to go get that job at working at Ford or whatever it is. Um, so a family is basically a small economy. That's what a family is. And in fact, actually, in my book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power, I talk to you about how to take your family and turn it into an economy. It comes down to what I call the three C's of an economy. The three C's are markets for capital contractors and customers. Capital contractors and customers, or even with contractors, you could probably say contributors. So basically, to have any sort of economic engine, you need a capital formation, you need a capital base, you need somebody to invest to build the thing. And then you need contributors or contractors, people that are going to do the labor required to make the thing into the output, into something that you want to put in the world. And then you need customers. You need somebody that's going to buy whatever you make, right? Like Rivian makes the best cars ever, but they don't sell the cars. So the model breaks down. So if you have those three C's, which actually every church, every black church in America has the three C's as well. Every black church is a little economy, and which is why every pastor, every deacon, every bishop, in my view, should get economic training so you can understand how to visualize, how to have consciousness to see the massive wealth that's buried right in front of you. Just like any asset on earth, the better you manage the asset, the more wealth that can be extracted from the asset. So leadership matters. We want to train the kinds of leaders in the community that have that ability to see the wealth when it's there and to get something out of it. The third thing is there's another theory, investment related to investment and capital formation. That first C, the three C model. And basically, when you have kids, let me ask you this: are kids expensive? Do you consider kids to be expensive? Do you know the kids cost money? What do y'all think? Or when people talk about, well, I don't want to have more kids, they usually bring up what? How expensive it is. Kids are expensive, expensive. Okay, makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I think that the last study I saw said that the average child, it costs about $300,000 to raise one child. So if you have six kids with, four babies, mamas, then you put yourself about $1.8 million in debt, something like that. And so here's the thing about that. When you talk about the cost of raising children, the framework that you may want to consider, in fact, I think people have the wrong view of this, or they look at it as an expense. And an expense is where you spend money and you never get it back. It's just almost like a waste. It's like it's like human waste, like just something just like a byproduct. But actually, that money that you're spending is supposed to be an investment, but it can be an expense. If you make an investment and you waste it or you lose, then it turns into an expense. When companies make an investment and it doesn't work out, they write it off. They have a write off. You have to write it, like maybe you got to write off your child or write off family because it didn't work out. It's because you invested in this thing, it didn't work out. So you just say, well, that was a loss. I got to overcome this loss. And so much of our Black experience is built around overcoming losses. It's about overcoming setbacks. It's overcoming devastation. And I get it, it happens, but the reality is that actually that money spent on the child isn't supposed to be an expense. It's supposed to be an investment. You're not piling up a bunch of L's and a bunch of waste. You should be piling a bunch of capital. But this requires thoughtfulness. This requires really thinking carefully about capital allocation. Okay, I'm drained right now. I'm putting all my energy into stuff. I'm constantly running around doing this, solving problems, pouring my heart, mind, body, and soul into things. Am I thinking about what I'm pouring myself into so that I can make sure that I get investments and not just a bunch of expenses? In fact, that's what happens in the employment market. That's why you got people that have worked their ass off for 45 years and don't have any wealth because nobody really trained you in the beginning to think carefully about capital allocation. There's a limited version of you. You only have so many years on this earth. You only have so many hours in a day. You only have so much energy you have before you become exhausted, and then we all die. So why is it that we have a society that trains us to pour everything, our heart and soul, and everything into something that doesn't give us anything back? So you go back to children. Parents invest thousands of hours, literally hundreds of thousands of hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars into raising their kids. They expect those investments to have some type of ROI, typically that might show up in the form of healthier, more productive kids. So the return doesn't have to just be financial. It's not just about money. It's not your kids are not little ATM machines, but it could show itself in stability. Perhaps when you get older, uh, these kids love you enough to come in and try to help you. This retirement crisis is divided into a few different groups. You got people that saved and invested and prepared that are going to be fine. They got money, they have family, they have all the things you need. Then you got the people that didn't necessarily save and invest financially, but they invested in people, which is the biggest investment. So they may not have a bunch of money, but they got people that love them. They had 4 or 5 kids. They have in-laws, whatever, people around that are going to make sure that they're good. Then you have the people that made no investments in anything. They didn't invest in people. Like, oh, kids are expensive. I don't want to have any kids because I want to have fun and whatever. I'm not judging. And then also they went, they might have said something like, which I've heard quite often in a capitalist society, which is I didn't have any kids because I wanted to focus on my career. Okay, I'm not judging, but then the question then becomes, okay, is your career going to take care of you in retirement? This you gave up one investment to make another one. So now I'm 50 and I have no children, but I have a great job. Okay, is that great? Did you do you have $1 million nest egg from that job? So that maybe, if you don't have kids that are going to check on you, maybe you've got somebody you can pay to do that. I don't know, right? But so I think the hardest position is when you didn't invest in the family side, but then you overinvested in the corporate side, and the corporate side left you in debt or left you with nothing. That's the paradox of it all. That's the sucker's trade-off. And not that you're a sucker, it's that's what I think America wants you to be. This capitalist society wants you to be a sucker. It wants you to give up your best investments so you can invest in them, and then it becomes a deal with the devil. Because I guarantee you that if you've been working hard every day and you've been doing your work every day and you've been buying consumer items for your entire life with that money that you make every day, somebody got rich off that. Somebody got rich off that. You bought a house for your landlord if you've been paying rent, probably two houses. You have made many shareholders very wealthy. I understand because I'm one of them. I wrote my dissertation on the stock market. Your company that you slaved for got rich. They're not broke. They're going to have money for retirement. So the question then becomes, did you make a trade-off that you're comfortable with? And if the answer is no, then you got to shift the paradigm. Does that make sense? Tell me if you follow that. Tell me if that makes sense. All right. So as I move on, I want to mention again, I'm at the Hoppy in the Shy event hosted by Taki Grant, and his film is called Hoppy, Hapi. And so if you want to join us in Chicago, you live nearby or you want to drive down or whatever, they'll be here for Saturday and Sunday. Brother Nuri Muhammad's here today. Dr. Ken Harris is here speaking. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, I'm on a panel with her today. Dr. Alicia is going to speak tomorrow. So there's some really kick-ass people here. And I like these people because these are people that are actually seeking to make measurable progress in the Black community. You have a whole lot of symbolism. You have a whole lot of, people giving fancy speeches or, like sort of getting riled up about different things that are happening and, getting mad about stuff. But you don't have a lot of stuff where someone can measure what the progress is. People actually doing what needs to be done, building infrastructure. The Black community doesn't just have a wealth problem. We really have an infrastructure problem. And the question is, who's building the infrastructure? So for example, what I'm trying to do with the Black business schools, I'm building infrastructure. Similar to W.E.B. Du Bois, I want an institution that's going to be around educating our kids 100, 200 years from now. Because I think that that's important. I know that that's important, right? I don't want to just be famous. I want to mass produce millions of people that have the fundamentals required to succeed in a capitalist society, in a competitive economic society. And so that's my contribution to infrastructure. I invest in this every day. I think overall, all of us should do that. And the good place to start really is that family. The family is your best opportunity to make a contribution to the economic structure of our society. So let's move back. So by the way, so if you want to join the event, you can go to happyfilm.com, HAPI, happyfilm.com. And also, we're going to have the All Black National Convention in Jersey City. A lot of great people are going to be there. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of the most elite Black people ever, in the sense that, uh, these are individuals that are just ready, that are building, that are developing things. It's kind of, I see it like the Harvard for Black people, meaning that it's not something, it's not InvestFest. InvestFest is amazing, but it's fun, but that's a different kind of experience. Our experience is one that's a little more mature and curated, a little more serious, not overly serious. We still have a lot of fun, but it's also sort of like, okay, what are we really doing here? What are we actually building here? How do we all come together and create something really extraordinary? So it's a different experience, but I do like InvestFest. I'm going to go to InvestFest too. But I didn't want to create that. I don't want something. I want people there that are kind of qualified and prepared to succeed. And you guys are qualified because we train on economics every single day, right? So that's something that that you might want to check into. The URL is allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com if you want to join us in Jersey City the weekend of October 16th. Right? We have tracks for children. We educate kids. We have Young, Black, and Rich, where we educate young people between 18 and 32. We want them to be leaders, CEOs, captains of industry, real estate owners. We want them to be high-level investors. We want infrastructure, 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 leadership, institutions. That's what we need, right? Not super Negroes that are lit, that are on stage and singing and dancing and all that. We have entertainers, but that's a different category. I want winners, leaders, builders. That's what we need. All right. So moving on. Okay, so the other thing about so the theory of investment and capital formation says that families are investment partnerships, basically. And so when the family falls apart, it's like a business falling apart. It's like a partnership falling apart. The fourth thing, this is a big one. Families actually reduce risk. There's a whole theory called risk sharing in insurance. Risk sharing is big in economics. When I was working on my doctorate, Renee Stoltz was one of our leaders in our department, and all he did was he talked about risk and different ways to view risk. And I thought very deeply about it. And one of the things that we don't accept and understand as Black people is that it's very risky to be Black and broke in America. Tell me if you agree. It's very risky. It's extremely risky to be financially insecure in America, even if you're not Black, even if you're white, it's risky. Why do you say that? Well, because if one thing goes wrong, you're fried, you're cooked. You lose your job, you're traumatized. You have a financial emergency, you're done. If somebody gets sick, it's over, right? So risk is huge. So if anybody should have their head on a swivel and really be risk aware, it should be us. Because look at the things that we've gone through. So before insurance companies actually existed, the family was the insurance company. Did y'all know that? That was your pathway to diversification and protection. If somebody lost a job, the family stepped in. If somebody got sick, the family stepped in. If somebody needed a place to stay, family stepped in. The family was the natural shock absorber for all the crazy things that can happen in life. And so in a capitalist society, one of the interesting things that occurs that I just think is wild is they've trained you to replace the family with the government. Good luck with that. Maybe Trump does really love you as much as you think he does. Um, they replace the family with the corporation. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Corporations care more about people than money. Of course they do. Wink, wink. Um, that's not healthy. That's not healthy at all. Uh, Strong families, they do what insurance companies do. They spread the risk out. So if you are talking to a young person or you are a young person and you're thinking about how many kids you want to have, you should throw that into the equation. I'm not saying that it's a defining factor, but it should be thrown in there that a person who has one child that's there for them in case they get old and sick is going to be in a different situation than a person who has six kids, when they get old and sick. I'm not saying go have six kids. I'm saying that there's a different situation there. You have four, five, six kids that you invested in that were trained properly, that were taught certain value systems. That's going to be a different experience for you when you hit retirement than if you have one child with all the weights put on that child. Or even having a spouse. My when my mother got sick, the fact that there were three of us and my father to spread the load made me think deeply about friends I have where there is no spouse and there's one child, and that child is trying to be 38 years old and still carrying the weight of taking care of somebody in an economy that isn't very friendly to single people. Right? It's a tough economy, and I'm not. And some of you, I hope it didn't hit too close to home. If it did, I apologize for that. I'm not here to make you feel bad, but I'm not here to lie to you either. But this is what I observed that I said, oh, okay, so I get it now. Kids are about more than just little mouths you have to feed. These are little individuals that become adults, and it does make a big difference. And people think that that's old-fashioned thinking. Well, maybe your elders had a point. Maybe all these other cultures, all these societies that value family at a very high level, maybe they're onto something. Maybe when you go to Nigeria and cousins and family matters more than anything, and tribes matter, and all these other things, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe when you go to Asia and the grandparents are helping you raise the babies. Maybe this 10,000-year-old tradition is there for a reason. You ever think about that? Right? So this idea of doing everything solo, that's kind of mostly an American thing. Definitely, or maybe a European thing. Even the Europeans don't mess it up that bad. That capitalism will play with your head. It'll have you thinking like, oh, it's all about me and mine and all the time, and I ain't got time for nobody. I cut everybody off. I'm solo and everything because I got my government. Trump's gonna take care of me, and the corporation's gonna take care of me, and then when those things fail, then you're kind of stuck. You're kind of isolated. So there's economic theory that basically says that the family is a shock absorber. Family is there partly for risk management. These are economic ideas. These are not just, it's not just about feelings, even though you do feel better when you are in a less risky situation. One more area is James Coleman and Robert Putnam had something called social capital theory. This is another area where the family is an economic institution. And again, this relates to the first commandment in my book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power, which is always be an asset to your family. Basically, what they conclude, and they show through various economic models, is that relationships have economic value. Dr. Fraser talked about this. Relationships are very important. Families, when you have families and groups, and sometimes your biological family may not give you what you want, but the reason we created things like Be One Village and the All Black National Convention is so that you can go and recruit your new relatives. You can go find your family that will help you to have some of these things, right? So families share information. You can introduce relatives to job opportunities. Families lend money to each other. If there's trust in that space, they could teach each other skills. In fact, how many of you learned? Give me a yes if you learned some valuable skills in life and business and everything else from people that were in your family. Somebody who taught you and didn't get paid to do it. They did it because you were their nephew or you were their child or you were their sibling or you were their best friend, right? So this is wealth because they invested in you, and therefore as an asset, as a capital asset, your value increased because your human capital went up in value. You're now able to do more things and navigate the economy better because you now have these extra skills. That's a real economic thing. Family members open doors for each other. A strong network can create opportunities. In many cases, they create opportunities that money can't buy. There are some spaces you can go into where it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're not getting in this door. But you got the right relationship with the right person, suddenly the door swings wide open. And everybody somehow thinks that only white people have the ability to open doors. And I just that drives me crazy. I don't believe that you have to go kiss a white man's ass to have a door open for you. I think we need more black people that will open doors. I think that rather than salivating over his power, I'd rather look around and not ignore the power that we have. I don't obsess myself with white privilege. I obsess myself with creating and manufacturing more black privilege. When I'm at this conference and I'm at this weekend, there was nothing but black privilege. I sat down with Dr. Julianne Malveaux, a brilliant lady. She's a PhD in economics from MIT. And there were people I could sit down with and talk to and get valuable insight from. And I had the privilege because I had a relationship, because we're all black. We're on the same page. We're on the same team. We're in the same fraternity. I said, hey, she was the president at Bennett College. I said, yeah, I'm gonna be teaching at Morehouse in the fall, right? So there's spaces where blackness is an asset. In fact, I dare say that you should be careful to possibly avoid spaces where your blackness becomes a liability. Why would you spend all your time trying to go to places where you're not wanted? Why? I mean, think about it. If I was a Crip, why would I go looking for all the neighborhoods where they have the most Bloods? That don't even make no damn sense. If you blue, then you can go get with your homies. Get with your friends. You know, I played a video game called Call of Duty, with my friends, and I jumped in. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I'm gonna get killed. Look at shot. First thing somebody said in the chat, they were watching because they were laughing at me because I was so terrible. And they were like, boys, get with your allies, go find your friends, go find your home. I'm like, okay. And so what I'm saying is that economics is actually gang affiliation. Economics is a team sport. And for whatever reason, we want to play on the team that don't even want you on the damn team. Want you around. And then we'll say, well, you don't want me around because I'm black. That might be true. I don't know. Maybe they just don't want you around because you're different. I don't know what it is. But you better get with your allies. Black man, you better go stand next to that black woman who's going to have your back to the end. Black woman, you better not abandon black men. You can't do that. Don't abandon your children. Don't abandon your parents. Don't abandon your own people. If you get with the wrong black people, get with the right ones. That's okay. Not every skin folk is kin folk or whatever they say. But there are amazing people out here that are like you that get it, that just kind of understand. Like I promised you all 7 years before I got married. I said, I don't know if I'm gonna ever get married, but if I get married, I'm gonna marry a black woman. It's not because I hate white women or I think Asian women are terrible people. It's that I don't I only a black woman can understand what I went through and what I've gone through as a black man and what my experience is like. And so I married a black woman. She's high yellow, but she's black as they come. So the point of the matter is to say that ultimately, when you're talking about playing this economic game, you got to sort of figure out like what's the value of having teammates. And the thing about having teammates is that rugged individualism doesn't usually work so well when you're part of a team. And that's the hard part because sometimes it requires a little bit of compromise and sacrifice and not always kind of having a me sort of philosophy with everything. But I'm not here to judge that. That's up to you in terms of how you want to process that information. But one thing I can say is that the Black family is powerful and important because in many cases, your last name is worth a whole lot more than your resume. That's one thing that's 100% true. And so basically, if you talk about family and business, let's connect the dots here. Uh, Family invests in, or a business might invest in its employees. Family will invest in its children. A company has a corporate budget. A family has a household budget. A corporation creates products. A family creates productive people. A corporation manages risk. A family protects family members during hard times. Corporation builds long-term wealth. Your family builds generational wealth. Does that make sense? The government is an economic institution. Corporations are an economic institution. Banks are an economic institution. But the family, that is the oldest economic institution ever. So I go back to my basic point. When they convinced you to abandon the idea of family, what they did was they stole your wealth. They didn't just rob the bank. They burned the bank to the ground. Those are two different things. There's one thing about empty the bank. They didn't just empty the family, they obliterated the idea of family. You got people growing up not even thinking about family, not even processing family as something that's important for them. Right. So not only do you not have money in the bank, but you don't have a bank. You don't even know how to build a bank. You don't even want a bank. That's scary. That's really, really scary. So anyway, before we finish up, let me shout out a couple quick things. Um, Dr. Alicia and Raquel Wilson are doing a class on healing money wounds. Uh, Raquel's our newest faculty member in our Black Financial Therapy department. We believe that therapeutic techniques will be essential to building Black wealth because crazy people don't build wealth. Broken people can't build wealth. People who don't heal can't build wealth. So they're doing a 6-week money healing class. or for money wounds, and it's super awesome deep. I mean, my wife has a license; she's a licensed therapist, full professor of social work. Raquel, she is really really good at financial therapy. She's younger; she's 28, and so smart. And we met her in Tulsa and talked to her several times, and so she's actually the first person we brought in to partner. So they're partnering on this, and the fee for the class is $299. But if you go to aliciawatkins.com, you can actually get in for 6 weeks for $59. That's a really good offer. And then I told them to leave it there for you guys if you want to join. So you can go to aliciawatkins.com. That's so it's ALICIA Watkins.com. So don't go to Dr. Alicia Watkins, go to aliciawatkins.com. Secondly, I want to mention one of our students, Tim Haskins. He is a mortgage broker, and he is great with helping you to either get the money that you need to buy property, which we know that buying property is one of the most important things you can do to build wealth. And also, he's really good if you want to tap into your home equity. Like, let's say you got a house and you've got some equity there, and you want to get into that so you can have some extra capital to make investments. Let's say you want to sell stock options or whatever. You can talk to Tim, tell him I sent you. You can go to lockinloans.com, LOCK, lock in, like we lock it in, lockinloans.com, and you can take a look at that. And last but not least, if you have a child that or grandchild that's interested in finances, we have financial flashcards for kids that are really, really powerful. So you can go to financialflashcards.com if you want to take a look at those. We have flashcards on AI, flashcards on stock options, flashcards on stock market investing, flashcards on real estate, flashcards on pretty much even my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, there are flashcards for that. So if you go to financialflashcards.com, you can take a look at the flashcard bundles and see if one of them works for you. All right. So that's it. Hope you guys have a great day. God bless you. And if you want to get notifications for class, text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. Where's the event located, Pam? Patricia? Let's actually, let me stay. I'll stay a couple minutes and answer a few questions. So if you're in the Zoom, put your question in the Q&A section. That way I can guarantee to see it. How about this? If y'all want to say, some of you, if you want to go, you can go. Don't, I won't be offended. But if you want to stay and ask some questions, we haven't done a Q&A in a little bit, so I can answer as many questions as you have. I'll rapid fire. So if you make them short, that'll help. Ask about anything that you want, and I will answer the question in the chat. So put your question in the Q&A section. So where is this event? This event, the Hoppy and the Shy event, is Chicago. It's right not far from the University of Chicago, right on the south side. I don't know if you know, but Michelle and Barack lived a couple of blocks away from here. I used to live about 3 blocks from here. This is a great area because University of Chicago is here. That's pretty cool. The Barack Obama Center is right out my window. I'm literally staring at it right now. It's this big old monument. I haven't been there yet. I'm gonna go eventually, but I wanted to come to this. This was more important to me than I got invited to the Obama Center. I couldn't make it. Um, I love Obama, but I'm more interested in individuals like Julianne Malveaux and Dr. George Fraser, and the reason is because I feel that elevating the Black community requires an injection that goes right to the bloodstream. I believe that you need people that are really focused and that say, okay, I'm Black first. My top priority is the Black community. I'm not, it's nothing against Barack, but it's more like when you say like the rising tide will lift all boats or I'm here for everybody. That's great and it's beautiful. I think the beauty of the monument and the beauty of the Obama presidency was that he conducted himself very well. He's a super smart guy. He taught in the building, like right there. He taught in this law school right here. Um, and the family was amazing and no scandals, all that. But there was a lot of symbolism there. And symbolism matters, but Black folks, we have enough of that. We swim in symbolism. We swim in feel good moments. We swim in, oh, look at this. Colin Kaepernick might get his job back. That doesn't change the lives of millions of people. That changes the life of Colin Kaepernick or Barack Obama getting a good job. It matters, sure. I mean, he's president. That's really awesome. But I can't really look in like the neighborhood that he lived in a few blocks away. That neighborhood is exactly the same as it was before he became president. It's not putting that on him, though. It's not me saying he should have done this and done that. I know we have a debate about that. But when I look over and I see Donald Trump and him audaciously making all his friends rich, There's a lot of people that have a lot of wealth because he became president. His buddies. He's not apologizing for putting his people first. And I hated the idea that we felt that Barack couldn't do that, right? And I know it's America, it's complicated, and he's a great guy, but I couldn't. I have a hard time putting my finger on measurable results that occurred in the community as a result of the work that was done there. Like, I don't know, for example, let's say that he said, we really need to create another HBCU. And we're going to call it Barack Obama University, and it's for Black people first. We're going to put $100 million into this thing so we can educate Black kids for the next 200 years, like Booker T. Washington or something. That's substantive. That's something measurable, something clear. The Barack Obama Center, um, it's nice to look at. I'm sure they tell great stories. It's beautiful, but it didn't inspire me. So I lived for years down the street from Barack. He was 2 blocks away from me, and I was never interested in what was happening at his house. But Louis Farrakhan lived around the corner, and I went to the minister's house several times because I was very interested in what the Nation of Islam was doing because I know Black men who are alcoholics and drug addicts and who've killed people in my family. And I love the fact that the Nation of Islam can take men like that, and they're the only institution in America that can take a man like that and make him into one of the most honorable, intelligent, capable, productive, and upstanding members of society. That's a magic trick that needs to be replicated in every Black family in America. I don't care what you say about the nation. I mean, they're sure. I'm sure it's complex and whatever you can take what you chew the meat, spit out the fat, whatever it is. But that's one thing the Nation of Islam does that, in my view, is an essential skill for the competitiveness of Black people. Do you understand what I'm saying? When Brother Nuri Muhammad walks in the room, my eyes, I get excited because I'm like, yes, this man gets it. He's a fellow soldier. He's a teammate, right? We can win the battle with it, but if you give me some guy that's kind of distracted and says, well, I want to help out, but I got my boss and my boss won't let me do it, and I don't really know. I can't, I don't know. That's like, where are we going? You're not driving the car in one clear direction. You're kind of trying to waffle a little bit. Riza Islam is another person. I mean, there's so many. I hung out with 19 Keys out in California, and just anybody who just says, this is where we live. We're not apologizing for this. This is what the mission is. Um, those are people I relate to more. So I'm not judging you if you disagree. I'm not telling you that you can't disagree. You can feel how you want. I'm not even here to give a verdict about the Obama presidency. That's another conversation. I'm just here to say that when I see the monument, I see a symbol, beautiful, a big, beautiful symbol. But what I'm looking for is the substance. I'm looking for the infrastructure. I'm looking for the proof that we're increasing the wealth. I'm looking for the proof that we're strengthening the families. I'm looking for the proof that the kids are reading at a higher level than they were before. We should be in a state of emergency over the fact that 70% of Black children are not reading at grade level. Why is that not a state of emergency in the Black community? Why do we have more people that are concerned about a police shooting than they are about the fact that 70% of your children are not prepared for the future? Do you know that in China, if that was to happen in China, they would stop the presses. They would stop everything. That would be the number one national priority. Because do you know what children become when they grow up? They become adults. And do you know what an unqualified 8-year-old becomes when he grows up? He becomes an inadequate 28-year-old. He becomes uncompetitive. He can't compete in the classroom. He ain't going to be able to compete in life. So you're mass producing children who are incapable of competing at the higher level. Why is that not on our agenda? Why in the hell are we talking about everything except the fact that we're not ready for the future? Everything that you're doing when you leave children out here that can't read, can't write, can't do math, all you're doing is you're further obliterating your Black wealth. You're pushing your wealth further down. An uneducated person has a really hard time building wealth in America. Why do we not think about this? Well, because we get caught up in the symbolism. Like, a Negro with a job that don't mean nothing. We've been having Black people with jobs. Y'all had good jobs since slavery. You need infrastructure. You need systems. You need Black excellence factories. You need places, institutions in your community that are mass producing the kinds of young people that are going to win, that are going to succeed. The Nation of Islam is the only place that does that. They're the only place I know that mass produces millions, hundreds of thousands at least, of Black men that are ready, that are solid, that can lead a family, lead a business, make a plan, have a strategy, fight on the battlefield, get things done, go work hard. Like there's no other place in your community that's doing that. Everything else is about like, oh well, white people gave him a nice job, so we should be happy about that. No, I don't care about that. I want to win. So that's it. That's what I feel when I come back to Southside Chicago. It's an amazing place. There's a lot of powerful stuff happening here, but a lot of disturbing things too. So a lot of people don't know this about Southside Chicago. Like you can walk 3 blocks from Barack's house and get shot. I don't know, did anybody know that? Maybe you gotta go about 5 blocks. But you do, I mean, like literally when they talk about the notorious neighborhoods in America, like Old Block, where they would do drill rap and the rappers would rap about killing you, and then they would show up at your grandma's house and kill everybody. Like that happens just a few blocks from here. Right? Or so Barack's house, I could run to Barack's house back when I was fat. Like that's how close he lives, right? And then I could also run to O Block when I was fat. It was right on like you had to know what street you were on because if you're on the wrong street, either you're gonna meet the president of the United States or you run into a 14-year-old with an AK-47. It depends on what day it is, and that's the reality. That's what I don't like that. That's not. It's weird. That's just very weird. So anyway, let me stop. Let me stop. Okay, and because I lived in Chicago a long time, but I'm not native Chicago, so I want to always be respectful of the people that are 100% native Chicago. But I lived here since 2013, so I know Chicago very well. Um, in fact, I know it enough to know about the corruption too. Like somebody told me they were running for mayor and they wanted me to be their treasury whatever. I forgot. I don't. I want to say Treasury Secretary, but that's not what it was. It was something like that. But I said I'm not doing that. Chicago, y'all so corrupt. I ain't trying to get indicted with y'all. No, Illinois, I think has 2 or 3 governors that have gone to prison. Did y'all know that? I'm telling you, this place is interesting. All right, so let's see. Can you post the link for the kids animation series you talked about yesterday? Yeah, Melvin. Actually, the website is if you go to blackwealthavengers.com, blackwealthavengers.com. I'll put the URL in the chat. Yeah, feel free to go take a look. And it's really just our use of creative animations to basically teach the things that the school systems don't teach. School systems don't teach wealth, and I have my theories and my speculation regarding why they don't. But yeah, so blackwealthavengers.com is. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. This is the site for the flashcards. So I'll show you this too. Financialflashcards.com. We've got different bundles that you can get of different flashcards. We got credit flashcards, Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power. We broke that down for children, real estate investing flashcards, and stuff like that, right? So feel free to go to financialflashcards.com. And then Black Wealth Avengers is blackwealthavengers.com is the animated series page. Yeah, yeah. So here's the blackwealthavengers.com page right here. And so this was fun to do. We've been creating animations for about 10 years now for children to learn economics, and it introduces them in a friendly way to advanced concepts that most adults don't understand, like how stock options work, ETFs, bonds, pensions, things like that, estate plans. And it's all, of course, the characters look like them. So these are Black characters. So your child at the age of 6 identifies wealth as a Black thing. They're not like, oh, having money means I'm acting white. Being financially intelligent means I'm being a white person or whatever, or economically responsible. Economic responsibility is what white people do. No, this is what Black people do. This is as Black as you get. And real estate investment trust. You see that beautiful Black woman right there? That's REITs. So they kind of appear in like these really cool, almost like godlike characters, but not sacrilegious. But there's Cashy, that's who represents cash and what cash does, what it means to have cash and not have cash. And a lot of parents love our kids programs, because in our promise on that is when your child goes through our programs, they're going to have a financial literacy level that exceeds the average college educated adult. And we've had hundreds of thousands of parents and kids go through our different programs, and so they're very effective. So feel free to go to blackwealthavengers.com. You can get lifetime access to the entire curriculum for $99. So blackwealthavengers.com. All right, so let's see here. How to move 457 to a Roth IRA. Okay, 457. Um, 457, is that, why do I not know? I don't think it's like 403B, 401ks. Is a 457 kind of like a 403B? I should know that, but yeah, so definitely what I would say is whatever the plan is, talk to the people that, oh, 457B, okay, that's the government version of an IRA. Okay, got it. Yeah, so call the provider, just call your administrator and say, I'd like to roll this into an IRA or 401k, wherever you want to roll it into, and they can help you with that. They can always help you with that. Do you miss being a traditional professor? Asked Christian. Is that part of the motivation to go to Morehouse? Do I miss being a traditional professor? Not really. No, I don't. Because I am a traditional professor. The difference in doing things the way I do it now is I love this more because I get to teach, I get to do it the way I want to. I get to focus on the topics that matter, not what they tell me to teach. And so at Syracuse, I taught a lot of different, I taught banking and international finance and all kinds of side, just a bunch of stuff. And I didn't mind it, but I just kind of feel like blackness is such a cool experience. It just feels like I like, even when I have the little logo on and we got the all black and it's powerful and it's colorful and it's fun and it's connected. That to me captures the swag, the energy that blackness has. Like I just think black people, we're just the coolest people ever, whether we're nerdy or whether you're talking about a rapper at the club or you're talking about just somebody like me. I just feel like we have some type of spiritual power that just kind of almost like it taps into the gods and into God in a certain way where we just we just make things better. And it happens best when you're in a space where you're free and you're capable of being creative. And that's that's how I feel when we do things in the Black Business School. It's like, no, this is it works. It's going right to the bloodstream. It's not, there's no bureaucracy getting in the way, there's no silliness. And so I don't know, I don't miss it at all. Especially once I figured out ways that you can build an economically independent institution without depending on government or corporate money. Right now, the big conversation that's happening with some of the other events and institutions and conferences is they're running out of money because when they cut the DEI programs, they weren't getting their corporate money the way they used to. They weren't getting the government money the way they used to. And so you have debates where people are, upset that the state and local officials are not financially supporting what they're doing. We don't have those debates because we've never really even gotten into that game. We don't, I never, and that was really more of a economic security protocol. I said, I don't really want money from the state government or the local government to fund the All Black National Convention because I never once believed that true Black economic independence was going to be funded by white people. I just don't believe that. I don't, maybe people can prove me wrong, but I don't see the incentive. If I'm a white man, I have no interest in economically strengthening the Black community and making them competitive with me. Why would I do that? Since when has anybody in a competitive society ever went out of their way to create their own competition? That's insane. That don't even make no sense. The best you're ever going to get is you'll get co-opted. Amazon and Apple. Did you know that small businesses, they used to get flattered when Jeff Bezos or Apple would call them and say, "Hey, we'd like to have a meeting about possibly acquiring your company and to partner with you." They used to get excited and they stopped getting excited. Does anybody know why? Tell me why. I'm gonna get my water. I want y'all to answer in the chat if you know why they no longer get excited when Amazon and Apple call them on the phone. Let me grab my water. Why do they not get excited anymore? Anybody know? Because you know what Amazon, Apple, and Google were doing? They would come, they sit down, and they'd say, "Gosh, we really love your product, bud, and we think you're great." And then you're feeling good, you're feeling all acknowledged. Kind of like they do like they see black people ain't the only ones that get played in this game, right? So you sitting there getting all flattered. Well, thank you, sir. I'm so glad you acknowledge all my hard work. And you call your mom. Guess what? Apple called and they're like, we think your product's amazing, and we'd love to partner with you, and we're going to invest in you, and you're gonna grow. And then you get all starry eyed and excited, and then here's what would happen with Amazon in particular. Jeff Bezos would be like, "So how do you manufacture how do you, okay, so you make the baby wipes with a new technology that does the blah, blah, blah. Okay. And now how do you do the other thing?" And then next thing you know, they call and say, "Oh, no, we're not interested anymore. We thought it'd be a good partnership, but we decided not to." And then next thing you know, they would have a product just like yours. And like Amazon has been notorious for this. Now, what Apple and Google have been accused of doing, this is all alleged. They've been accused of saying, "Okay, yeah, we love your company. Here's a check for $100 million. We're going to acquire you, and we're going to grow you. We want to keep you on as CEO." And do you know what they do? They bury your company. Next thing you know, if you're the CEO, you're getting paid to do nothing. They're not developing your product. They're not marketing you. They didn't partner with you. They swallowed you up. They want to chew you up and shit you out. They don't even spit you out. They're going to chew you up and shit you out, right? They did that because they're like, we don't want competition. We don't even want you as a partner, because even a partner can become a competitor. That's some gangster stuff. My daddy was a gangster. He just happened to wear a police uniform. But if you know anything about cops, you know cops are gangsters too. And my father he used to say, "Keep your enemies close and your friends closer." And I said, "Don't you mean the other way? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer?" He said, "No." He said, "Because your friends are the ones that take you out. It's not your enemies. You keep your enemies away. Your friends are the ones, So when people show up and they're like, "Oh, we're allies to the black community," I'm like, "Okay, believe you to a point. But I certainly believe that you're going to help me in a way where I'm going to also help you, because you're human, and that's what humans do. You're not going to, but I don't believe you're going to help me in a way where I'm going to compete with you, or where I'm going to take something that you feel you're entitled to. I don't believe that the New York Knicks ever partner with the San Antonio Spurs in a way where they would let the Spurs take their championship. But I do believe that integration can happen in a way where primary source of the integration does benefit themselves. So basically what Apple and Google and Amazon do to smaller companies, or what they've been accused of doing, is exactly what happened with the black community. We because and we're easy targets because our self-esteem is so low, and we're economically desperate. So we're like the little company, like white people are Google, right? Let's say white people are white I'm not It's not against all. I'm not vilifying all white people. Let's just be clear. Not I'm talking about powerful white men who run America. They're kind of like Google. We're like the small company that has great ideas, that's begging to be acknowledged, that doesn't know its own power, that doesn't have enough resources, right? And that's looking to be validated, that's looking for a seat at the table. That's what we are. So that when Google invites those companies in, and they're giving you everything you want. They're right. They're giving you a big fat check. They're giving you a seat at the table, or so you think. They're acknowledging and validating you, making all your dreams come true. But the goal is to integrate you in a way where they swallow you up, just like they did black people in America. We were so happy to be integrated without understanding that what happened is that they saw us as a competitor. When Google's looking at that little company, they're saying, "Okay, the company's a baby now, but that technology, if they continue to invest in themselves, they're going to compete with us, and they're going to take some stuff that we have. So it's better that we go ahead and make friends with them now, right? Make a gangster move, become their friend, so that we can then neutralize them." happens all the time. I personally believe that's what Al Sharpton was trying to do when he became buddies with me back in 2008, 2009. I didn't know it at the time. And I can't confirm it. I don't dislike the guy, but I eventually I saw what was happening. I said, "Oh, I get it. You're co-opting me now. That's not going to happen. So if that means I got to go on the outer rails and invest in myself and build things on my own, then I'll do that. If that means I can't get the government money, then that's okay. I'll go without that. If that means we can't get the corporate check, that's all right. You can keep your corporate check because when the shit really hits the fan and things really go down, you'll know that we're not bought and paid for by anybody. You don't own us. You don't own nothing over here. So anything you get from us has to have some element of legitimacy to it because we don't have to fall for the okie doke. So the time when I used to be interested in being a traditional professor was probably when I didn't know if these things were going to work. When I didn't know if we were ever able to develop an institution on our own, it was hard. It was really hard. We didn't get any support, no investors, no nothing. They did nothing. And you would think with me having a PhD in finance, again, they always say, well, we're looking for intelligent black people to invest in. I mean, it doesn't get much more intelligent than that. Um, but no, there wasn't anybody out here begging, jumping to write a check for us. But it's okay because I look back on that and I'm like, that was actually a good thing. So we were able to literally bootstrap our way to real meaningful strength. We did not lose the All Black National Convention because the DEI programs went away or because Walmart got too scared to write checks to black people. None of those things mattered. We don't argue with the city of Atlanta over funding and financing because we never talked to them about it. Because I wouldn't even want to put them in a position where they have to even make that ethical um sacrifice of having to support something so blatantly black. I don't believe because I don't believe that the systems in America are wired to truly support meaningful, relevant black economic strength. It doesn't mean I have anything against anybody else. Sometimes people go through the back door. Sometimes people fight in their own way. They fight from the inside. So Essence Fest, all that, I support all of that. I think that's fine. But I never wanted to do any of those things. I said, we got to go where the enemy lies. We got to go where the problems are. Problem lies in broken families. We got to fix that no matter what. The problem lies in the fact that some of these people are deliberately seeking to sabotage and undermine you. You got to call it out. Problem lies in entertainment and BET constantly marketing things to us that are anti-black, anti-wealth, anti-productive, anti-intellectual, anti-everything, right? They're marketing prison culture to your kids. We got to talk about that, right? We got to talk about what it means to actually own things and own assets. We got to criticize even our HBCUs. We even have to go back and say, why would you mass produce millions of black people that are being trained to go work for white people? Why don't you diversify a little bit and actually mass produce just as many black people that are actually prepared to build infrastructure for true, meaningful black economic strength? The reason, let's talk about somebody that some people consider to be anti-black, if you want to call him that, Elon Musk. The reason Elon Musk has economic strength, no matter what you try to do to him, is because he understands one important concept that we've discussed in class. That concept is vertical integration. The reason you can't touch that man, for the most part, is because that man owns every piece of every part of his production process from the beginning, from the bottom to the top. He doesn't need the suppliers. He doesn't need the certain people to always be there for him. He owns 85% of SpaceX or something like that. He's thought carefully about creating not just wealth, but secure economic infrastructure that can't be destroyed from the outside. That's why when this man went crazy and did all that crazy stuff with Trump and Doge and all that, his net worth quadrupled. And think about this. Look at how many people tried to destroy him. How many people tried to ruin his economics? Because he was worth $250 million at that time. I paid attention to that carefully. His net worth went to $1 trillion. Say, oh, you can't stop this because he built something that was vertically integrated. Rockefeller did the same thing. Rockefeller was a beast, not just because he had a good job. He wasn't a beast because he just knew economics. Rockefeller was a beast because he thought about the whole process from the rooter to the tutor, and he owned all of that. He controlled all of that. So these are ideas, in my view, that are important. They have to be understood at a broad systematic level. We have to have the discipline to implement these ideas. It takes a very long time to build something that is institutionally solid. Like it took a really long time for Booker T to actually say, instead of me being a high profile Negro giving lots of fancy speeches, I'm gonna go build a damn school. That's not lit. That's not cool. That's not seen as something that's fancy and this is the thing. We have a culture that celebrates the fanciness. You'll celebrate the fancy Negro on stage rapping or somebody that's giving speeches everywhere and popping on the internet, got 10 million followers, but you're not looking at those people that are brick by brick building institutions that are gonna have staying power over the next 100 or 200 years. Your Instagram following ain't gonna last till the year 2176. Your rap album is not gonna matter 50 years from now. But you build a school, well, that's gonna last. If you structure it properly, you build a corporation, you build Ford, you build the next Ford Motor Company, that has a good chance of being around for a while. And then also there's systematic elevation. The symbolism from Negroes with fancy jobs is enormous, and we get all excited about it. Oh my God, they hired him as the blah blah blah. I don't clap. I slow clap in the back. I'm like, here we go again. Yeah, more symbolism ain't really gonna matter because as soon as that man take that job away, then he's a nobody again. The question is not whether you can get to the point where you're convinced that you're a somebody. To me, the question is, can you always be a somebody, even if your enemies decide that they hate you and they want to annihilate you? Even if the Trump administration goes into office and cuts all the DEI funding, can your organization survive? Most of our HBCUs cannot survive without government funding. They have a really nice white lady, Mackenzie Scott, I think that's her name now. She's been going around doing amazing work. She's been giving tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to HBCUs. Toni Morrison is her what's the word? That was her exposure to blackness, and that was an influence for her. So she's going around giving all this money to HBCUs, and I just love it. I think it's great. But what if generous white women fail to exist? Like, what if she stops being the generous white woman that she is? What if the government decides not to support the HBCU anymore? Do you have infrastructure? Do you have financial infrastructure where you have the ability to go, say, sell a product to a customer that will allow you to have diversified revenue streams such that if one channel gets cut off, you're going to be okay. Most HBCUs cannot do that. So this is one of the reasons why I didn't miss being a traditional professor. I didn't care about that. Nobody's going to stop me from being a professor. I have a PhD everywhere I go. Um, I also am the guy who's weird enough and audacious enough to kind of say, no, no, we got to question everything. Anything that can be attacked and undermined, you need to go look at the structure and the foundation of that thing, and you need to accept one fundamental reality about being Black in America. You are almost never as secure as you think that you are. You're almost never as secure as you think you are. And all it takes is one shock, like Trump coming in and firing 600,000 Black women or whatever that number was, for you to say, oh crap, I thought I was safe. You're not safe. But there's a way to get there. It just takes work and it's not lit. It's not going to get you all the applause that you might be looking for. So I'm not playing about this. This is very serious. So let me get back. Let me go back here. All right, Cardinal Barton says, "Peace, Dr. Boyce. Will you be teaching us when you take your position in Morehouse?" Yeah, yeah. This is my top. This is what I do. This is my thing. Morehouse is something that I'm doing as a favor to a friend because I respect Morehouse immensely, and I love the opportunity to teach young Black men. But really, it was more so a friend that reached out and said that we need a Black male PhD because unfortunately I don't know how many Black males they have teaching business there, but it's okay. I'm not judging. I would just say she asked me personally to do it, and I respect her, so I said okay, absolutely. I said I'm a little worried because I haven't had a job in a while, and I'm not really looking for a job, but Morehouse was something more of a labor of love than anything. But no, this is what I do. Morehouse is part of what I do. Let's see. Do you think SPY will hit 800 by year's end? I think that the S&P 500 has a lot of catalysts in place that could catapult or undermine it. The biggest threat right now, everyone's kind of discussing, is artificial intelligence. companies like OpenAI and whether or not they can truly deliver on the revenue expectations that they've created. I don't think that they can. And and what that's going to do is it's going to rock the boat a little bit. It's not going to destroy the stock market. No, it's not going to collapse the dollar. The world's not coming to an end. But and yes, the S&P 500 will eventually reach 8,000, but it may not happen right away, right? So just know if people ask why stock market crashes, yes, of course it's going to crash. The market crashes all the time. Crashes are built into the capitalist system. Crashes are a part of American economics. It's just, there was a documentary called Boom Bust Boom. And in Boom Bust Boom, they pretty much explain how capitalism, American style, has crashes just built into the infrastructure. So it's like a hard drug, or steroids or crack or something. Like you're gonna when you're lit, you're gonna be extra lit, but when you crash, you're gonna crash hard. So just know that the market will crash. It always does, but then it always recovers too. I have 10K and to invest in selling stock options. Which would you recommend? Oh, you want to invest in selling stock options? Oh, wait, I have 10K and to invest in selling stock options. Which would you recommend? I don't know what you mean by that, but I would say selling stock options is a great way to generate income. But also, I think a long-term portfolio is a good way to have wealth. Wealth and income are two different things. Wealth will protect you from a financial shock. Income helps you pay short-term obligations. So I think wealth and income are important. That's why our mastermind is called the Wealth and Income Network. And let's see here. And if you want to apply for the mastermind, email support at theblackbusinessschool.com and Amani can help you get there. That's support at theblackbusinessschool.com. Neona says, I'm 22 years old. Could you explain how time is my greatest asset right now? Oh, wow. Neona, clap for Neona. Nionna. I love that. I love when young people are smart enough to listen to elders. It's weird. The Black community is the only community I can think of where people are more likely to listen to like a 25-year-old rapper than they are to listen to a 70-year-old professor. I think that is so strange, right? But that's a product of culture. That's why when people say, you want to part of the culture or down with the culture ain't always a good thing. Some parts of that culture are built around ignorance, irresponsibility, and failure, epic failure. So time is your greatest asset, Neona, because you have more time than you'll have when you get older. Time is as Dr. George Fraser says, time is the asset. It's the currency where we don't know the balance. So even at 22, you feel like you have time, but you never know. I know I had my best friend Greg Wilkins died at 25, right? So you never know how much time you have. So you don't waste time ever. Time is an important asset that you can invest even if you have no money. So if you don't have money to invest your time. Budget your time the way you budget your money. There's 8,760 hours in a year. When I start the year off, I do a time budget. I budget my time. I've got some money, but I have far more. My time matters so much more than my money, right? So I would encourage you to think of it that way. And here's the other thing too. Don't 22 is not old. 22 is not young. 22 is just 22. 22 is not old, it's not young, it's just 22. If you feel young, then go talk to a 12-year-old. They're going to look at you like you're a grandma, right? If you feel old, then go talk to a 60-year-old. They're going to say, back when I was your age, a long time back in 1975, right? Right. So everything's relative. That's my point. Everything's relative. So here's the thing. You can always go to a higher level than the level that you're at. So if I'm 22 and I think I'm going to start investing at 22 because I want to get started early. I'm getting started early. Yeah, you're getting started early for sure. I mean, that's really wonderful. But remember that the more time you invest, the more wealth you have. Like just like if I'm a billionaire, that's a lot of money, yes, but there are people that are worth $100 billion, right? So the point is to say that if I'm 22 and I say I'm young, I'm investing now, I'm getting an early start, that's really, really good, but everything's relative. So what's better than starting to invest at 22? Well, what's better is if you start investing at 18. Okay. What's better than if you start investing at 18? Well, if you want to make another extra $1 million or $500,000, then start investing at 8. But how do you invest at 8? Well, that's where wealth becomes a team sport. You don't invest at 8, but your parents could invest for you. Do you understand? Well, what's better than investing at 8? I mean, my God, that's so early. You're so right ahead again. Well, what's a better? I don't know, investing at 1. But how do you invest at 1 year old? 1 year old, 1 year olds can't buy stock, Dr. Boyce. Of course they can. You think I'm crazy? Well, no, but 1 year olds have parents, don't they? Do kids have parents? I can't remember. Does it take two people to make a baby? I always forget the math. Because some people think it only takes one person. But yeah, so 1 year olds have parents. So imagine if we had a culture where we say no, the obligation of every parent is to invest in the child. And if you think that's unrealistic, it's not unrealistic. Think about it. I mean, the job of every parent is to feed their child. The job of every parent is to protect their child. The job of every parent is to talk to their child. Those are all investments. If I'm feeding you, talking to you, and taking you with you everywhere I go, then I'm investing in you. I'm pouring into your human capital by doing that. If you don't believe me, then watch what happens when if mothers stop doing their jobs and just decided that they want to go to Young Miami concerts and spin that shit instead of actually staying at home with their kids. Well, there's mothers that might do that, right? What happens to those children when their mamas are not doing their job? When they're like, oh, I ain't got time to spend. Why would I spend time with my child when I could be twerking, right? Spend that shit, right? Well, those kids grow up and they struggle. They end up in prison. They end up dead. They end up on drugs because they are assets, human capital assets that receive underinvestment. Any asset that you don't invest in is going to fail. It's going to go bankrupt. Companies that don't get investment, they go bankrupt. So we got a lot of bankrupt souls out here because they were victims of underinvestment. They struggle because nobody invested in them. When they were four and that little boy was a genius and he could do anything, no, all the adults around him just ignored him and said, oh, I don't care about the little Negro. I ain't got time for the BET Awards is on. And that kid grew up and didn't realize his potential and ended up taking that genius. And instead of becoming Malcolm X, he turned into Malcolm Little. So investing is something that should be happening every day, no matter what we're doing. And it is happening all the time. But then there's like that gap. Sometimes you invest in a way where it becomes an asset. Sometimes you invest in a way where it becomes a bigger liability. Sometimes it's capital expenditure, which adds wealth, or sometimes it's just an expense, which reduces wealth. Expenses lose, investments win. Same action, different result. Same action, different result. I go to the mall. I buy a $3,000 worth of clothes. That is an expense. That is a wealth reducing activity. I could spend $3,000 on a mortgage. That is asset increasing. That will make my wealth go higher because I'm putting my money into an appreciating asset versus putting it into something that's going to lose money. So ultimately, let's circle back to Neona's question because I really was happy that the 22-year-old stepped up and asked the question. Everybody else who's young, please keep talking. I respect you. Um, if you're really trying to win the wealth game, you always want to ask yourself, well, how do I do better? How do I go to the next level? I don't care how good you're doing it, myself included. No matter how good we think we're doing it, no matter how much we got it together, for all the time you want to spend judging other people and what they're not doing, I encourage you to take that energy and judge yourself. Say, whatever level I'm at, I need to go higher. Whatever wealth I'm accumulating, I need to accumulate at a higher level ethically. Whatever the amount of work is that I'm doing, I need to do more. So whatever amount of time you have. So if you're 22, Neona, and you say, I'm doing so good. I'm starting at 22. Well, you want your children doing better than you. Your daughter isn't going to start investing at 22. Your daughter's going to start investing at negative 10 years old. Why is she going to start investing at negative 10 years old? Well, because if you're 22, and let's assume you don't have any kids, and let's say your plan is to have a child at 32 years old, whatever age it is, right? And you're already conscious of the fact that this kid is coming and that this kid is going to need money, they're going to need protection, they're going to need wealth, then you're investing now for yourself. But because that child is a part of you, you're also investing for her, right? It's not an either or. It's not like I'm doing this for my child and not doing it for me, or doing it for me and not doing it for my child. No, you're part of an ecosystem. You're part of a family. You're part of the same institution. So therefore, that which you do for her is what you're doing for you, and that which you do for you is what you're doing for her. So you're investing for Neona at 22 But baby Neona will be here when you're 32, and she's going to walk into wealth and power because her mother had the financial consciousness to conceive of her mentally before she was born. That's what billionaires and millionaires do. Billionaires and millionaires have a level of consciousness where they can see things before they exist. They have a vision that others don't see. And then they see the vision, they believe in the vision, they invest in the vision until the vision becomes concrete and real, and then others see it. So the vision that you have for baby Neona at 22 is something that others may not see until you're 52, when baby Neona is 20 years old and she's sitting on $500,000, and you can proudly drive your daughter to college and say, I was thinking about you before you were born. How about that for a model of parenthood? What do y'all think? Do you think what do you think would happen in our community if all of us tried to think that way? What do you think would happen? Do you think black wealth would go up or down? We know what would happen. That was me asking a silly question, but the simple ideas are the ones that are the most powerful, in my view. These are the ideas that are going to make the difference. It's not the complex stuff. It's the simple stuff. But sometimes to get to the simple stuff, you got to become a more complex person. The reason that the wealth doesn't happen, the reason 9 times out of 10, the baby Neona ain't got nothing in the year 2055 is because her parents weren't even thinking about her before she was born. They reacted. It was everything's reactive instead of proactive. Nobody's making a plan. So many people just react to whatever happens. Right. And then you get mad because you hear about something sinister like Project 2025, and they've been planning to do this and planning to do that. Well, okay, I get it, but the best way to beat an evil plan is to have a plan that's yours. It's stronger than the evil plan. So what's your plan in response to their plan? If your plan is to simply panic when you hear about their plan, then that's not a plan. That's not your panicking is not a plan. Reacting is not a strategy. Strategy is when you have the plan well in advance. So if Neona knows she's going to have kids and she wants her kids to be millionaires, then 22 years old is a great time to start. Your kids should not start investing at 22. Your children should start investing at negative 10 years old. Why is that important? Well, because we've talked extensively about how time is the leading ingredient in the wealth building process. Time overrides money, time overrides whether you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, time overrides almost everything. Time is the factor. How do I know that? Well, because we talked about the 5-year plan that if somebody invests $500 a month, the average used car note into the S&P 500 in 5 years, they have about $35,000. After 10 years, they have somewhere close to $100,000. After 20 years, you have about a quarter million or more. After 30 years, you're about three-quarters of a million to $1 million. 40 years, you're a couple million bucks. Okay, so if Neona knows that her child has 30 years until she reaches adulthood and 40 years before she's 32 years old, then that 40-year plan of her simply investing an amount of money that wouldn't be more than a used car note means that her child never has to work for anybody ever. She never has to even think about getting a job. That's not even in her consciousness. That's the gift you give to your kids. And you're protecting them from so many terrible things that happen because people that don't have money, they struggle. They have to make hard decisions. They're under a lot of stress. They're sad all the time. Sometimes they end up, you have people that go out and kill people. They rob people. They do terrible stuff to get money. I'm on the south side of Chicago. Do you know how many people there are within a 5-mile radius of where I'm staying right now who are in the middle of doing very uncomfortable, illegal, harmful, terrible, immoral things because they don't have enough money to pay the rent because nobody made a plan for them? So when we talk about black consciousness and what it means to be woke, that's to me wokeness, consciousness, making a plan, having a strategy. Next question, Judith. I need the replay from last weekend. This is the options class. I will continue to ask. Can you email support at theblackbusinessschool.com? They can take good care of you. Amani will be waiting for you. So what I'm gonna do, Judith, is I'm gonna take a picture of your comment. If you were at the options summit, then absolutely, you definitely should have the our recording. So I'm going to take a picture of your comment. I'm going to send it right there to Amani. And if she has your email address, she will reach out to you. She's that diligent. But if she doesn't have your information, then I want you to email support at theblackbusinessschool.com. Um, and she will take care of you. And I see a lot of people are reaching out about the thing we said about Howard. Yeah, yeah. Well, Howard, Howard unenrolled 500 students this past week, and here's what's going on in my opinion. I think what's happening is that because of the Trump administration basically doing the stuff they did with the DEI programs, a lot of white schools are not accepting black students anymore, and a lot of black students are going to HBCUs. So I wouldn't be surprised if they accepted more than they could actually accommodate, expecting that a certain percentage of them would not take the offer. That's what they always do, in case you don't know this. A lot of universities will, if they know they need 10,000 students, they'll accept like 12,000, knowing that 2,000 aren't coming, right? Or whatever. Well, I think more people are going to HBCUs because the white universities are not accepting them the way they used to. I can't say this for sure, but when I look at what's happening, we got one at Tuskegee, and I kind of am sort of looking and observing, and then what happened at Howard, and when I get to Morehouse, I'm gonna ask some folks about that if it's happening there. But I think that might be what's happening. So what I did say was, I said if you have a child or you know somebody who was unenrolled at Howard, they can email support at theblackbusinessschool.com, and we'll give them $5,000 worth of free classes. So any young person that you know who was unenrolled at Howard, you can post it for them, etc. Tell them to email support at theblackbusinessschool.com. Just show something to show that you were accepted and everything. And we'll give you $5,000 worth of free classes. We have a whole package of different things that you can take. And the focal point is, like, we don't do biology and all that stuff. Our focal point is Black wealth. So what we were able to do with probably better than almost anybody that I've seen is position you to be economically secure long term, which actually I think is incredibly important because most people go to college because they're trying to be financially secure. So if most people who go to college, I mean, think about it, this is what's interesting, right? So most people go to college because they think it's going to get them closer to financial security. Would you agree with me on that? Give me a yes if you agree that most people go to college because they feel, again, for other reasons, they might have other reasons to go, but most people go, our people go because if you say, will college increase your chances of financial security? They're going to say yes, right? Give me a yes on that. And we're going to do we're going to do some steps of logic here. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you this. Let's say you take 20 years down the line. Would you argue that most college graduates are financially secure? By financially secure, I mean like they can lose their job and be okay financially for a year. Let's just say a year, not for the rest of their life, but for like a year. Let's just do a year. You're gonna live a lot of years, but let's say just one. I just ask, well, maybe 8 months, right? Would you say yes or no? Would you say most college graduates could be fine, stay in their house, maintain their lifestyle, whatever, be okay for a year if they lost their job? The answer is no. The answer is no. It is not me speculating. This is what the data says. They are not secure. The student loans, when they started making people pay student loans, that right there caused the panic, right? So, so, so you think about it, right? You're going to college to be more financially secure, but college is not making you financially secure. The corporation you work for is financially secure, but you're not, right? Because your security is not your security. It is the semblance of security that you receive because you've been guaranteed security from a secure institution that really isn't guaranteeing anything because they can lay you off at any time, right? They cut their DEI program and you're done, all that kind of stuff. All right. So what this speaks to is that we have to go back and reconstruct the whole uh, logic of that whole process. You have to go back and look at the whole process from the beginning. So what I do, because finance is my field. This again, I have an advantage. I have a PhD in this stuff. I would go back and just say, okay, what are we doing from the beginning? And is this really what's the most efficient way to get to financial security? Well, that's what we focus on. So, you know, so again, the Howard students, you're invited. You can join us. You don't have to make a choice. You can still go to college and do all that stuff. But the Black Business School, that's what we focus on is the creation of financially secure black people and black families. And anybody, and even if you're not black, you could be here. So if you, as long as you don't have a problem with black people, because I've never told someone they can't be a part of the black business school because they're not black. But it's like Notre Dame, how they're an Irish school or Irish Catholic or whatever that is, right? Like you don't have to be Irish to go to Notre Dame, but you have people that will wear the green and they'll be part of the Fighting Irish, right? So it's the same kind of thing. Like you can kind of be black if you want to just hang out with black people. Like we're pretty cool. And but financial security is the goal. And what you'll find is that once people are able to obtain the financial security, a lot of their other decisions shift. A lot of the decisions that they made to get a semblance of security go away, and they start making decisions that actually work. So the ownership of assets, ownership of real estate, ownership of stocks, those are direct pathways to financial security. Owning businesses eventually, if you want to be an entrepreneur, that helps. Diversify revenue streams, that makes a big difference. Family structures make a difference, right? Who you marry, things like that. All these things matter when it comes to wealth. So that is what we do in the Black Business School, and we do it better than anybody. All right, so let's see here. So the email is support@theblackbusinessschool.com, and they can email, just show some evidence that you were among those that are affected, and we'll definitely take you in. Hey Jen, how you doing? One of my missions through Black on the Platform is to connect Black entrepreneurs with the right people at the right time. If you could give one piece of advice for building a stronger Black business ecosystem, what would it be? Okay, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned Black on the Platform, because Black on the Platform is a great place that everyone should subscribe to. And I want to keep saying Black on the Platform because what I'm doing is I'm shouting you out because I want everybody to know about Black on the Platform. And so anyway, and Jen, send me links to your interviews too, because I want more people to see that stuff. It's really good stuff. Jen does these amazing interviews with really smart people, and I just think that there are so many extraordinary people in the community that should be highlighted. It makes me think about like Diary of a CEO, where you have that black man who does those really good interviews with interesting people talking about interesting topics. I think Jen should be like that, right? So Jen, I would go watch Diary of a CEO, look at his style of like how he creates the content and how he edits and everything. I think that would be a good model to follow because we kind of need that, right? We need to be able to feature those people in the community that are doing great work, and a lot of you are in this room right now. So anyway, if I could give one piece of advice for building a stronger Black ecosystem, what would it be? Well, I think financial literacy is important, right? Just understanding the basics of what an ecosystem even looks like. You can't build something if you don't even know what it looks like, right? And just understanding that economics is an ecosystem, that having that ability to circulate money and wealth among each other is incredibly important. Money circulates the way air circulates, or the way anything else, the way blood circulates. It's you have inflows and outflows, right? So ultimately, if you're talking about a community that has money coming in and you circulate it amongst each other, then that ecosystem works. Ecosystems also work better with trust. So this is why things like therapy are really important, because the therapy leads you to be able to be a productive part of the ecosystem. The whole book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, is all about developing ecosystems, starting with the family, and then also surrogate families that you can create on your own that allow you to have the kind of exchange required to have a strong economy. Economies are measured heavily by something called gross domestic product. Anybody heard of GDP? Tell me if you know what GDP is. Gross domestic product. Okay, so GDP is higher. How do you measure GDP? What is that? Well, GDP is the value of all the goods and services that are traded in a given economy. It's like all the transactions that happen, all the flow that happens, right? And how you measure that financially, right? So you can have the same group of people with a low, you can have the group having a low GDP, where let's say you have a family where they don't talk to each other. All of us work for a separate white man. We don't share ideas. We don't share resources. We don't help each other out, right? We're all struggling individually. That's a low GDP situation. That is a poorly functioning ecosystem. That is a struggling economy. All of us, there's five of us. All of us are broke. We all independent. We're all a bunch of I'm an independent man, you're an independent woman, you over there struggling by yourself, I'm struggling by myself, and that's a low functioning economy. A high functioning economy, it has a strong ecosystem, a strong higher GDP, because we're interacting constantly, constant interaction. We're talking to each other, we're sharing ideas, we're sharing resources. I'm going to buy from you before I buy from anybody else. So values play a big part of it. If I value you, then I'm going to support you first. I'm going to look for my homies first. I'm going to go to my people first, right? If I find an opportunity, I'm going to go to my people first, right? And then we're trading. There's lots of trade. And when there's lots of trade, barter and transactions. I'm buying from you, I'm working from you for you, I'm investing in you, receiving capital from you, etc., then that increases the GDP of that ecosystem. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Right? So the more you can create contained ecosystems that allow people to engage and connect with each other, the more wealth you create. So a big part of wealth building starts literally with just talking to each other. That's it. That's why I say love and connection and trust are really important. It's not just feel good moments. These are things that matter in building an ecosystem. Right? If I have a bunch of friends and we just love each other and we want each other to do well and we trust each other and we have each other's back and we'll fight for each other and all that, then wealth is actually being increased. GDP goes up because I'm buying from you. I'm supporting you. Like me and Jen, I dare say, did I just make an investment in Jen's business by saying black on the platform 15 times in front of thousands of people? What do y'all think? Right? And then Jen invests in us. Jen has been a big supporter of the Black Business School. And I appreciate that because not everybody understands why blackness is that important, right? They're like, oh, you're being racist, or oh, that's too radical, or who wants to super? Yeah, no, Jen doesn't think that way. Jen invests in our kids every day. Jen is a major investor in the black. People like Jen are our version of the Warren Buffetts in the community. So you got to understand that you have a lot of Warren Buffetts in your own community. They just may not have as much money, but they're sure as hell investing a lot of wealth. Any mother that's raising black children, you are an investor. Fathers that are defending kids that don't even belong to them, you're an investor. If you're pro-black and you're pouring into things with even without money, you're an investor, right? So we've got our billionaires. They just don't have $1 billion, but dollars aren't that important. Again, they're just these worthless pieces of paper that inflate every year. You're investing wealth, you're investing time, you're giving knowledge, you're giving support, you're giving emotional validation to children, you're doing all kinds of stuff. So you are an investor. If you end every day and you're exhausted because of how many black people you were helping today, then stop telling me that you're not an investor. You're a major investor. Very important. Let's keep going. Okay, Linda says E-Trade is now offering to buy fractional stocks. Is this a good thing? Yes, it is. Fractional shares, it means you can buy a piece of a company instead of the whole stock. I think fractional shares are an amazing way to invest. Like you don't have to buy a whole share. You can buy 20% of a share of stock, and that works too. How do you feel about oil refineries in Nigeria taking over in America? Taking over America, is there any investment opportunity with that? You talking about Dan Goldie? Yeah, I put up an Instagram post about Dan Goldie. I was proud of it. I think it's very cool. Dan Goldie is I think he's the richest black person on the planet, and apparently he's selling more jet fuel um to Europe than the United States, which I think is very cool. And I'm rooting for him. I don't know the guy. I've never met him, but and he's Nigerian like me. I'm 43% Nigerian. That's what's up, right? Igbo, stand up. Um, and but yeah, I have nothing. I see nothing wrong with it. I don't know how to invest in it just yet, but I'll go find out, and we can talk about it for sure. Let's see, Tracy, how do you fix a family member that's already broken? You can't. If they don't want to fix themselves, it's going to be hard for you to do. But if they want to be fixed, you could probably help them. But if they don't want to be fixed, then you don't try to. No, don't be stupid like me. I spent a big chunk of my young life trying to change people who didn't want to change. It's very frustrating. It'll stress you out. Um, who wrote the book Boom Bust Boom at Sherry? It was a YouTube movie I saw with a bunch of economists with puppets. They have singing puppets in between every singing puppets singing in between every little clip, and they'd have like a Nobel Prize winner, and then they have singing puppets to sing about what the Nobel Prize winner talked about, which I thought was awesome. When's the last time I went 2 hours? I don't know, Kevin. It's been a while. I don't do that, but it's Saturday, and I'm inspired. I told you the Barack Obama Center's right here. See, people think I don't like the guy. I do like the guy. I just have to be honest about stuff, right? But and not everybody gets that. But I love it. It's great. It's University of Chicago. I feel smarter today. It's a great campus. It's beautiful. I did not get into the University of Chicago because I had one professor who hated on me, but I understand why. I gave him a bad teacher review. So he wrote, I made an A in his class. So I made the mistake of asking him to write a letter of recommendation for my doctoral program. And I think and he wrote something really subtle. He said Boyce will do very well on a PhD program if he decides to work hard. But that was his revenge because I had given him like a terrible teacher review because he was a terrible teacher. Oh my God, this guy was horrible. But anyway, I think that that's what kept me out of Chicago. But I did get into Columbia, and I should have gone to Columbia, but it was such a they treated the PhD students so bad at Columbia at that time. I kind of needed a place that was actually going to be a little nicer. But I feel smarter. I feel smarter, so maybe that's why I'm talking so much. Let's see here. I'd like to ask for the last playback as well. If you want to get all the playbacks, Nori, you can go to moneyinthemorning.com. That's moneyinthemorning.com. And I'm thinking what I might do is make the playbacks available for those of you that join B1 Village. That's kind of like the after party of class. Like, so if you want to meet people that are in the class, network with them, form family investment groups, things like that, go to b1village.com, be the number one village.com. Use the code word morning and it'll reduce the fee by 50%. The membership fee is like 199 a year, which I guess is $20 a month, $19 a month, $15 a month, something like that. I can't. I gotta do the math in my head. But anyway, that price drops by 50% actually if you use the code word morning. So b1village.com, or you can also go to moneyinthemorning.com. All right. Let's see. Nautica. Is there a way to become wealthy when I have an unwilling family and very broken? Yeah, you can. You may just have to find people that you can work with, and don't. I would not bring in people that are going to leak the ecosystem, like people that are just going to be disruptive and harmful to what you're trying to do. You might have to come get them later. Sometimes some people are better at being slaves than they are at being free. Meaning, like if you come back later after you've made a couple $1 million and you say, do this and I'll pay you. And if you don't do this, I won't pay you. It's easier to kind of manage things at that point, as opposed to leaning on their own free will to do the right thing. Some people just, unfortunately, just aren't wired that way. So if you want to do serious things, you got to be around serious people. Should I just look for people who are willing, still try with my family? Yeah, find good people, find serious people that'll grow with you. And then when you start growing and become successful, others are going to pay attention. Sometimes you got to forgive them because they don't know. They don't know. They live in the world. The world does not produce productive, capable, wealthy, financially secure Black people. It just doesn't. Even universities don't produce that. So you live in a world where a lot of people fall into a lot of standard traps. It took me 50 years to understand all these things about what they do to kind of throw you off and how they harm you in this society. Think about it. I mean, there are a lot of people that listen to me, but really ain't nobody listening to me. I got a few people that do. I mean, I have following, and I love you. I appreciate all of you, but a lot of people. There are three groups of people in my world. The smallest group is the people that have listened and who've been around for a long time, and I just love you and appreciate you, and you're all over the world, and I thank you for at least hearing me out, even if you don't agree. Then there's the group of people who know about me because they don't like me. They because maybe I didn't support their favorite politician, or or because they don't like professors and they think that we think we're uppity, or I'm not lit like their favorite rapper, or I don't know. Like they're just like, yeah, I know that guy, he's out there, but when he starts talking, I just tune out. And that's fine. That's okay too. And then there's the biggest group, which is people that don't know, don't care, ain't even thinking about it. They're listening to something. They're influenced by something. And what I observe, my 2 cents is that they end up frustrated about a lot of things economically, and they don't know why, right? And when they do try to find out why, and they try to find a solution, in many cases, it's like the wrong solution. Like they say, I need to make more money. I don't have enough money. And then somebody says, well, join this class on day trading. That's how you make money. And then they watch a great seminar where somebody knows how to do all the tap dancing and everything. And they say, day trading will help you travel and you can be free. And my life is great. I got a Lamborghini from day trading. And nobody has ever really sat them down and said, well, actually, the research says that most day traders don't make money consistently. The day trading people that make the money are usually the teachers of the day trading class. That person, because what they're doing is they're selling picks and shovels. They're not actually making their money with the day trading. They're making their money by convincing others to day trade. So effectively, it's little stuff like that. So I don't know what to do about that. I guess I just do my best, and I like to talk to people that are listening, and then you work your way out. And then when you're winning, then other people who weren't paying attention, they say, well, gosh, why how are you doing so well? And you say, well, sit down and I'll tell you, right? That's so money is power. Money will get attention. Success breeds interest, right? So for people in my family that wouldn't listen, I just said it's okay. I'll just go and do some stuff, and when you are struggling or whatever and you need my help, then you'll come talk to me, and I'll say, well, if you want to talk to me, then you really need to listen to me. I'm not just going to help you pay a bill. I'm going to help you to learn how to fish. All right. So let's see here. I want to build a program geared toward Black young men, which includes financial literacy. I would like to use your flashcards as a compliment. Is there any advice you can give me to help make sure that I build a solid foundation? Yeah, I would think carefully about what your business model is. You know, if you have the economic support of what you're trying to do, and keep your costs down. Don't it doesn't have to be expensive. I would try to do things as cheaply as possible. I would also make it simple. Go for the simple stuff. You'd be amazed how many simple ideas there are in wealth and money and finance that can change everything in people's lives. It's not the complicated stuff that does it. It's the simple stuff. So I've seen people do financial literacy programs where they literally got kids in there learning discounted cash flow models and having to learn all these complexities well, this is what the price earnings ratio is, and this is how you measure the total addressable market, and I just think that that's a lot, and it makes it look boring and it's hard. And I go to simple stuff, like I start with the monkey theory from Burton Malkiel, where he taught monkeys how to invest, and they literally threw darts at a wall, and they literally randomly bought S&P 500 stocks, and they made more money than the experts. And I say, well, just don't be dumber than a monkey. Just buy stocks consistently, don't sell them, and you'll be on the pathway to wealth. I'm more intrigued. I'm not intrigued as much by what experts do to make money as I am intrigued by what regular people do who are not experts in how they get money. That's the secret sauce, in my opinion. You know, my goal is not to tell everybody to go get a PhD in finance. In fact, if you told me, most people that ask me if they should get a PhD in finance, I say probably not, because it's really hard. Unless you really want it. You have to really want it. If you want it, then do it. But if you're not sure, if you just want to call yourself doctor, I'm like, well, there's plenty of people that call themselves doctor who aren't doctors. That's everywhere, right? So maybe there's other ways to get that esteem boost or that credibility that you seek. Maybe write a book, maybe, whatever. But but what I do believe is that if you mass produce the idea of every family just making sure the children know basic things, that's going to increase wealth more than a few extra experts ever could. And so that's what the Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power is all about. That's what that book was. That's why that book was written. Was I wanted something that was scalable, where anybody could just say, okay, I'm gonna give my child $20 to memorize these 10 rules, and that will be the best $20 investment I've ever made in my life, because that's going to translate into hundreds of thousands of dollars over time. All right, so let's see here. The age range is 12 to 18 years of age. I think that's a great age. You're not just also remember you're not just teaching, you're guiding, you're a mentor. You're teaching them, you're not just giving them education, you're giving them their value system. Education is what you know, and then skill is what you know how to do. But then your value system shapes what you do with your education and your skill. So education and skill might be, bullets in the gun, but your value system tells you what you're going to point the gun at. Do you understand? Does that make sense? All right, so let's see here. My 17-year-old daughter doesn't stay with me, but I want her to understand wealth building, and I talk all the time with her, but she's not really interested, but she's kind of big in buying luxury items with her mom. Okay, well, then maybe what you do is I would not support things financially that you don't believe in. But I think you could maybe let her know that if she likes luxury items, which is really okay, I don't think you can judge that. I got one that's 19. She likes luxury stuff. And what I said to her was, I said, well, if you want all that luxury, you should just understand that most regular people that have regular jobs cannot afford all the nice things that you want to buy. So the best way for you to get the nice things is for you to be an investor and a business owner. Because I don't know many people with regular jobs who make more than say $20,000 a month. So, but I know a few entrepreneurs that make $250,000 a month. And that's what I also said to our son too. He likes fancy cars like Lamborghinis and all. He knows the name of every type of car he sees. And I say, well, people that buy cars like that don't have regular jobs. So you might want to put some of your training into figuring out. And it's not so much. It may not even be quitting your job. It may be having a job plus a really good side hustle, right? Or having a job plus investments, a side hustle, and real estate. And then all that comes together to create a certain amount of wealth where you're naturally accumulating wealth because you're putting money into the mortgage or whatever. Remember, rent is an expense and a mortgage is a bank account, right? So if you're spending the same $2,000 and you spend it on rent, then that's an expense. That's a financial drain. That's money that's going into someone else's bank account. But you pay a mortgage, you're putting a chunk of that money in your bank account. Same activity, different result. Um, are the stock options replays available to purchase? Yes, Sherry, absolutely. Email support at theblackbusinessschool.com and they can give you access to that. So support at theblackbusinessschool.com. Would a 3 to 4 ETF portfolio be enough for a legacy family portfolio? Yep, it sure would, Vincent. Absolutely. Absolutely. You'd be doing better than 90% of all families, man. So go for it. 3 or 4 ETFs, beautiful. ETFs are great because you can invest in a lot of companies at the same time. Just pick different industries, right? So maybe you do like a healthcare ETF, XLH, a financial ETF, XLF, an AI ETF, AIQ, an S&P 500 ETF, SPY. Do you know in our family trust that we created for the kids and grandkids and stuff and nieces and nephews, the largest holding in that ETF is SPY, which is a simple S&P 500 ETF. Their largest holding is the S&P 500. That's it. No particular stock, none of that stuff. And we're not guessing. The only thing you're guessing is um, that the United States is going to stay economically powerful. That's it. Now, if the U.S. just fails and folds and falls apart, then that's a whole nother dilemma. But it ain't rocket science. It's not something where you got to go around stock picking all day. The stock picking is more so for fun. That's like just makes it kind of exciting. But and then you may want to add some Europe in there as well. I'm gonna put a list of European stocks in the chat. Um, so here's a few, and then I'll go find some stuff in Africa and other places too. I had a list of African stocks, I just don't have it in front of me. But here's the European list. I put that in the chat. If you don't see it, make sure you get on the text list. I'll text this stuff out. Text the word morning to the number 87948. All right, so we've gone over 2 hours. Should finish up, but let me answer a couple more questions. Nori, what course did you recommend to begin learning about trusts, IRAs, and wealth building? One thing that can help is the Economic Elevation Circle, or the LIFT program, Legacy Investors for Tomorrow. So how about this? drboycelift.com. drboycelift.com is a good place to start with that kind of thing. That's built around legacy investing, estate planning, all that stuff. So drboycelift.com. Robert, this will be more than just finances. Absolutely. To really do wealth in the Black community, you have to be a part-time social worker because so many social distractions get in the way of wealth building, right? So really, if you want to build wealth, you must understand the social issues. If you don't understand the social issues, then wealth building won't work. It's almost like if I'm teaching mathematics to a child who does not eat breakfast in the morning, then I'm gonna be confused about why he won't learn math, when really it's because he needs some food. So in order for me to get him to focus, I'm gonna need to feed him first, right? So for the community to get us focused on wealth, you got to feed the community first, and the mental health issues, things like that are huge. That's why we got the best therapists and et cetera from the community to create a Black financial therapy department. And I'm glad I married a woman who is an expert in therapy. University of Chicago, where she studied, they have the best therapists in history. Like they're not just the best; they literally invented entire fields within therapy. And she went to school right across the street from where I'm staying right now. And so now she's a full professor in this field. And the therapy piece, I highly recommend that to anybody who really wants to be healthy, happy, and stable in this world. And then when you give money to a healthy, happy, stable person, they're more productive with the wealth. They feel better with the wealth. The journey is a much more comfortable journey. It's much more peaceful. You have access to your happiness and your money, right? But you give that money to a person who's not stable. Well, the money just creates chaos. Why do you think lottery winners go broke? Lottery winners go broke. They end up dead. They end up on drugs. They end up in prison. Well, because the money becomes the fuel for their underlying instability. Not all of them, but many of them. Go look up all the stories of all the lottery winners that just went, or even rappers. Some of the rappers that get a bunch of money and they ruin their lives. And it's like money can be a great destroyer if you don't understand the value of mental health, right? So, and by the way, Alicia's money wounds class starts Monday. They're going to meet for 6 weeks. There's a big discount. They took 80% off the fee. If you go to aliciawatkins.com, I think it's $299 for the whole 6 weeks, lifetime access, but they literally have a $59 thing going on. So if you go to aliciawatkins.com, you can go join that. Her and Raquel Wilson are going to be teaching the class. Um, yeah, so let's see. So those ETFs, Christine, I don't remember all of them, but they should be up further in the chat. So just scroll up and take a look at some of the tickers that are up there. There's definitely quite a few listed. All right, so let's see here. Angela Riley, what should your stock portfolio look like before you start stock options? I think that it should look like, I think some ETFs are good. I think you want to own, at least have access to at least say 20 or 25 different stocks, but it doesn't mean you have to own that many. If you own 5 ETFs, then you cover over 25 stocks. So don't think you have to go buy individual stocks at that level. You could just own ETFs and own 2 or 3 of those and cover everything. I've seen people have 2 ETFs and become millionaires off 2 ETFs. So ETFs, that's your secret weapon. So, and if you have an interest in stock market investing, which I think you should, because stocks are the number one wealth builder in America. That's where when you want to know where rich people come from, they come from the stock market. We do stock market Tuesdays, and we have a great stock market program in the Black Business School. So you can go to drboycestockmarket.com. That's drboycestockmarket.com. When I said XLH, did you mean XLV? Yeah, I meant XLV. I always say XLH because I think the H healthcare, but I think XLV is the healthcare ETF. I get that wrong. I apologize. The link for the European stocks didn't post in the chat. Okay, I'm gonna try to post it again. I don't know why. Sometimes you all see I posted it again, and it says it's posting to everyone. And does anybody see it? Is anybody getting it? Give me a yes if you get it. I'm sorry, Francis. I'm doing my best for sure. And there's more stuff. Yeah, let me see. I'm trying to think of well, yeah, I can't think of any place. Yeah, let me think. I'll find some other way to get around that. I apologize that the link is not. Yeah, I don't know why it's not working. It's not posting as a link. Are you able to click on it? Did you try to click on it? Because I'm looking at it and I'm clicking on it and it's literally taking me to the page, right? So I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll try to figure out another pathway, and then also get on the text list. I'll text you guys some stuff. I'll text it out. Text the word morning to the number 87948. All right, so let's see here. One more question. Oh, the links. Okay, you asked about the link again. Okay, yeah. I don't know why links are working for me, but they're not working for you guys. So we'll figure it out. I'll get to the bottom of that. But get on the text list. Text the word morning to the number 87948. Just so you know, I'm gonna text you stuff whenever I think about it. So hopefully it's not a bother. If it is, just so you know, it's designed such that if you don't open a few of the messages, like you're not interested, it'll take you off the list because I don't want to bother anybody that don't want to be bothered. But if you want me in your life, I have no problem being in there because I believe that you are what you do repeatedly. And the secret of wealth building is repetition. It's just like financial fitness. If you want to be fit and you want to be in shape and you want to win the Olympics, you practice every day and you practice consistently. And so that's why I do things the way I do. I am deliberately fanatical and consistent about sort of saying, let's talk about this every day because that's what it's going to take. Again, white supremacy takes no days off. Capitalism takes no days off. Oppression takes no days off. Stress takes no days off. So we're not going to take any days off. So that's where this is coming from. I hope that you agree. I hope you're okay with that. All right, so let's finish up for today. Let's get on out of here. It was great to see everybody. God bless you. And next time we will not talk for 2 hours, but today it was definitely fun. If you want to join us at the convention and you want to be a vendor or you want to sponsor and maybe market your business, go to allblacknationalconvention.com. They can help you out. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And also, I'll text out the link for the apparel again as well. If you want to get the Panther and put it on your kids and stuff, that'd be kind of cool. I want this panther to be around for 100 years. And the website for the kids program that I showed you with cartoons and everything is blackwealthavengers.com. That's blackwealthavengers.com. So have a good day, everybody. See you soon. Take care. Bye bye.